Wow, that was fast. Okay.
To stream, to get online?
Yeah, people. Yeah, because one made the video, so even before I started streaming, people was already. Peace wise, you, Jarrell Boylan. Peace. Okay. Took me a little while to get online because I didn't get online. And here with a good, actually a perfect description. You know, as a writer, I'm always looking for the perfect word description. He's here with what a corny God is. I learned that. But more importantly, real word is bond. More importantly, I learned a perfect description to someone that we all respect and honor in this nation. A legacy earth. I like that.
Legendary.
Yeah, legacy. A legacy earth. Yeah. You know, talking about the earth, Wise Asia. She's in the classroom right now. So
peace, everyone.
One of the so let me know if you hear the audio right and everything like that. I got the new microphone hooked up, everything like that. So the last class I was building on a whole thing and the microphone was off. It disconnected.
And you can't get that rich bill back.
Yeah. I just had to do something else, do something else,
When that knowledge flows.
Yeah.
You can't get that back.
All right. Gregory, peace, Gregory. Yeah, Gregory says peace to the earth. Yeah, Wise Asia. If you don't know who Wise Asia is, though, of the Boricua persuasion, one of the most dynamic individuals in this nation. I was going to say Earth, but that's not fair enough. You know what I mean? There's like 1,000 other gods that she's more dynamic than, so we'll have to say that. But yeah, so now the Earth thing, yeah, you can't just pigeonhole in one thing. You know what I'm saying? But one of the, I was gonna say like you say you're one of the Earths that were taught specifically by firstborn prince, though. But in general, those who were taught directly by firstborn prince are a rare breed, because he taught, like all of us that have taught for years and years. You teach hundreds and even like him thousands, but you really only have a select amount of students, though. And part of the frustration, as I talked about, people asked me about firstborn prince last class. And part of the frustration, which is that he went through, which is one of the things I learned the most from, was just doing the knowledge to how to deal with people that don't get this knowledge, people that you give it to but don't really receive it. And the thing is, you're not going to teach most of the people that you give it to, right? That's why degree says you give civilization, righteousness, the knowledge of self. You're showing them that where they're at is not really what they think they're at. You know what I'm saying? This is not the beacon of height and peak of civilization. So now they're aware of their surroundings and they might not care, or they might care and say, well, you ruined this food. You ruined my expectations of society. You ruined the caste rankings I have deep in my brain. So what do I do? So now you give them righteousness, right ways to live, right ways to do things. They still might follow, but they're willing to listen to you and say, okay, I'll eat this food. What else? And, they're following you, but that's most people, if they even learn, they're following you. But to get that knowledge of self, where they really get it, and it's not just a fact that they got on the record and say, hey, look, the brand Nubian quoted it like that, and learned it, you know what I'm saying? Like, where it really means something profound, where they say, I'm going to be that, what's in the degree, then you have somebody that's getting the knowledge of self, though. And if you're really teaching them, though, you know that you didn't really give it to them. You just were there while they got it. You know?
That's what the old man always said.
Yeah, he's just kind of there, right? You just, and then when you teach a long time, like a lot of people, since I'm talking about firstborn prince, I'm not going to say I developed it perfectly. I just been here every Thursday since 2000. So, right? Certain things are going to pick up, you know what I'm saying? But Prince had this, he seemed disrespectful a lot because he knew who was going to get it and who wasn't, though. So he knew people that were just intrigued and, people that they just want to know, like, what the word is, voyeur, you know what I mean? Like, social media supports a voyeur. Like, people that just want to see dead bodies in the street, the people that look out the window when there's a fight, those kind of people. So a lot of people come to the school and they're just curious, like, what do these guys do and shit? All the records I bought, keep talking about, right? They're just curious.
Or they feel like it's a treat it like a pilgrimage.
Yeah, yeah. And the truth is that in the mainstream, you don't see our influence. But if you go deeper into the quality of the music, the entire underground still is dominated by us and by what we teach. So even if the rapper is not the God, even if the rapper is not the earth, guaranteed their best lines have something to do with what we said. You know?
Cardi B, she brought up MGT, even though she said she doesn't practice. She said cook and clean.
Right. So the principles are still relevant, but she had to say, I ain't gonna do it. Or I can't do it. You know what I'm saying? Right? Yeah, right. That yeah. She went in that degree the wrong way. Like she went in there literally whacked backwards. You know what I mean?
We got Jay-Z.
Yeah, Jay-Z. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Jay-Z,
so there's so many. And
Nas.
right, we're gonna get a Nas album at midnight. So who knows what he might be saying. Peace, God.
Peace, God.
Right. So do I have okay, I'm reading the comments. Gregory says, do I have any books by Shahid Emala? Why is that? I've never heard. I know a couple of Shahids, but I don't know any authors like with books by Shahid. Been reading The Righteous Way, and he wrote the introduction. I don't think. I feel like you're writing that wrong, though. I gotta look though, because all the Righteous Way books I edited, so I don't think that he has authored anything. But as a small plug, The Righteous Way is a trilogy of books, and the last one is the Infinity Edition, and that Infinity Edition is going to be released soon. And now I'm in the midst of editing that. So Shahid, though, in the first, you said the Jubilee one. I think if I remember correctly, in the Jubilee one, the people that he had write the introduction, they were contributors to early publications of the Gods and Earths. So not necessarily books, though. Not necessarily books, But I don't know why that's ringing a bell, but not for books, But good question, And it's funny because it's fresh in my mind because before I started editing this last third book, I had to read and reread the other two books, so that way we're not repetitive in the last book. That way I make sure that.
The Righteous Way is by Stormell.
But he said that Shahid wrote the introduction, and for what I feel like he might be writing that wrong, because I know that Elamjad wrote one of the introductions or wrote something in there, and he is one of the early writers and editors of the first in the early publications by the Gods and Earths.
Yeah, they got the Golden Jubilee.
Yeah, there's two. There's the Righteous Way, then the Righteous Way, the Golden Jubilee edition, and I'm editing the last one.
The 3-part series.
The third is the Infinity edition. So, and if you try to skip and read the Infinity one first, though, you're gonna be lost because that was the hard one. You know what I mean? That was the. Yeah, no, I'll look, but I don't think so.
They do have Shahid.
Yeah, I don't.
Shahid, Emala, Jamel Shabazz.
Yeah, I don't think any of them wrote per se books, published books. Obviously, Jamel Shabazz, of course, he's the photographer, though. He's published many books of his photography. Legendary.
He got my picture.
Yeah.
He got me in the young earth.
Yeah. He got everybody's picture. Yeah. He's taking pictures of everybody. Saladin, you said you got the audio version of Destruction of Black Civilization. Okay. I don't mind you brothers reading audio, using audiobooks to learn more. Just remember that when you do audiobooks, remember to stop and take notes. Some people listen to audiobooks and they never stop, The easiest way to read a book now is digital. Because in the digital books, so in the apps like the Google Books, which is my favorite app, and all of the apps have this, you can write notes that you can keep. It'll be saved on your Google, but it also comes with a dictionary. You know what I mean? So you could highlight words, though, and get a definition immediately. You know what I mean? Not just try to skip and go on with the context of the word. know what I mean? Now, me personally, though, I don't like audiobooks because I love the way words look. Even if it's a longer process, but I love the way words look. You know what I mean? So I want to, and I get something out of writing. That's why when you students write me something, I learn more about you even by accident because you will give me tells in your writing. You know, and I'll see certain things. But as always, though, as we build here, throw your questions, whatever questions. I have a couple of emails that I didn't answer, maybe one or two here. So I will answer those as the week goes along, though. So write down how you see today's mathematics, because you should. Because you should. It's basic. But also your questions, whatever questions you have and stuff, that you have, just throw them in there and stuff. I noticed that once I have come back into the school to teach and also simultaneously stream, I noticed that the questions that you have become less. Not only because, here's the thing, right? Not only because I will have eventually, as people get more used to coming back and they, and they either get used to the virus, the pandemic, and they just get out there more. The classroom will get more filled. Even though the classroom is the priority, I'll always get to the questions that you have here. I'm not going to skip the questions, even if I have to copy and paste them and answer them preliminarily in a video post class or right before the class. Okay. So don't think that like your questions aren't going to be answered, or you could just send it to me in the email. You know what I mean? I find it funny. I was talking to Earth about how we are making the digital student. A lot of you brothers and sisters don't live anywhere near the school. You know what I mean? And then some of you do, but the pandemic is, and it's okay. I'm not mad about you. You know what I mean? So if you looking Corona-ish, just stay home. You know what I'm saying? Right? If you're coughing too much and everything, just stay home. But if you don't feel comfortable, that's fine with me. The classroom is a place, I always call the classroom is a place of laboratory experimentation. It's where you should be experimenting with high explosives that you got no business doing outside. So if you have ideas, if you have a thought about a degree, if you have a question that you think shouldn't be asked, and you really want to ask it, this is where you should answer it. And then I'm also giving you the opportunity to ask me in my emails. You know what I mean? So you have many places to ask, So always keep in mind, though, that even as the class goes back into the school here, that we're back in the school, that it's really still your responsibility to go above and beyond, to do something that is as worthy as the person that came here. You know what I'm saying? And it's funny, that has to be thrust on the student, and I keep it real. Most students quit my classroom because I make them have to build. You know what I'm saying? Like I just tell them that once you memorize stuff, you'll have to come and give a developing understanding. I even keep it nice where, not going to have all the answers, but show that you're trying to use it in their daily life and that you memorized it. I'm okay with that weeding out a student because it's pretty weak if you get scared like that. You know what I'm saying? But it says a lot about the student today. You know what I'm saying? Like you just want to do something simple at home and then just have it and stuff. But it's not the way real life works. And this knowledge itself is for like the most intense situations in your life. The situations that you thought you were going to need the mystery God is where you go to mathematics and 120. So those are always the serious situations, because what are the situations as an 85 where you're saying, oh God, oh Jesus? Well, that's where this knowledge itself kicks in, like that's where it's going to, oh yeah, I'm the true and living God. You know what I'm saying? Right. All right. So some questions here. Let me go. I'm going to do them in order because Wise you said today's math is to study. Well, you didn't say what today's math is, but today's math is to study and learn to recite 120 so one can add on and guide with the proper way to be able to walk and talk it at any given time, regardless of whom or what and not fall victim. Okay, you didn't say anything wrong though, but remember to couple it with the actual degrees. Today being wisdom cipher, right? That way we know, because as a student, I want you to be able to say it so that way you would say it to someone that doesn't know. You know what I'm saying? So for the beginning though, it has to be somewhat instructional, but not incorrect. But let me mess with it just in case, right? Study and learn to recite 120 so one can add on and guide the proper way to be able to walk and talk at any given time, regardless to whom or what. Okay, and that obviously has something to do with your square, right? Staying in your square. So I see what you're relating it to. But learn how to say all that with the actual degree and go into square, all of that. You can do that with all of that. You also said wisdom is the way and cipher is a person, place, or thing. So wisdom cipher becomes the way of things. Okay.
I like that.
All right. Yeah. You ended up inside a Taoist aphorism at the end of it.
I like that one. Who said that one?
That was word 60. Well, he goes by word 60 on the handle here. That's good. That's good. The way of things. You see? Now, personally, for you personally, in your personal assignment over the weekend or whatever you do, now your thing is to say, just stay on that. Don't go wisdom knowledge tomorrow. Don't go wisdom. Try to think about the usefulness of the way of things. Why do you need to know the way of things? And then look around your life and build on the way of things. You see, because people they have a build, but they never take their build like through actual experimentation. Like, does this shit really work? Or am I getting insight to how it all goes? Right? Okay, so word 60, you also asked, could you build on the 5% teachings in relation to Elijah Muhammad, saying that we got our nappy hair and broad noses from the conditions of the jungles of Africa? All right. All right. First of all, I can't talk about Elijah Muhammad until I tell you what I always say about him. Elijah Muhammad is the only one I know who I call an evangelist of truth. An evangelist is a dynamic preacher of a said lie. You know what I mean? Like, it's a religion. Elijah Muhammad flipped the tables and became an evangelist of something that was true. So he was telling you we're the fathers and mothers of civilization, but then he wouldn't really tell you why. Like, he didn't give you an answer. If you were reading, he'll tell you like, oh, it's the truth and you'll be destroyed by Fard when he comes back anyway. I'll challenge you to $10,000 to prove me wrong. But then he doesn't actually throw the proof because nobody ponied up 10,000 yet. You know what I mean? So he's an evangelist of truth. The things were true. Now, as far as nappy head, you got to understand, like, ironic, we have a legacy earth here, right? Right? No, it's important, right? Because it was really Firstborn Prince that really taught that we were from the tribe of Jabbar, the Godhead tribe, and not really just tribe of Shabazz, and it was really the mentality, right? Because we're all original people. So technically, if there were tribes, whenever there were and are and is tribes, we'd all be one people. But the idea is this idea that Elijah was putting through, which is also genetically sound, that all of the phenotypes of original people started to develop once we migrated. And what people don't understand is that these migrations aren't like a 10-hour flight from one place to another. These are travels that took years and years and generations. So when we see when you say a person's genotype, their phenotype. Genotype is the genetic, phenotype is the physical appearance, right? When the phenotype changes, this is something that's happening over we can say 20, 30 generations, right? We multiply a generation, 33 years. That's a long time where people are staying in one place. And then we know that, let's say for the so-called Mongoloid, these are original people that leave Africa into the Asian countries, but they are in those Asian countries in different environments for what? For hundreds of years. So their phenotype changes though. That concept is totally irrelevant to the last 6,000 years because we've been mingled and co-mingled, much more. And
our food been the same across the planet.
Right, that too. So even when foods, let's say with the genetically modifying of foods, even that happens so rapidly that you don't get to see a difference between one populace other unless you focus on populaces that are real extracted. You know what I mean? But even then, their lifestyles are so different. People will excuse it, you know. So it doesn't matter because they live different lives. So when he talks about the nappy hair and broad noses and stuff like that, here's one thing you have to notice, though. One thing that we cannot get out of our heads is that Elijah Muhammad was using the fact that the original people, especially the African American of the wilderness of North America, was very obsessed with the white Jesus concept and listening to whiter people. So it just miraculously, and not, I don't say coincidentally, that Farmer Muhammad is very appealing to people because he's extremely light-skinned. You know, and he has that look. If he said that Allah, who came in the person of Master Farmer Muhammad, and it was some dark-skinned brother that looked like, you know, Shaka Zulu, they really wouldn't be into it. And that strategy, if you look, goes not back to Elijah, but all the way back to Alfonso Muhammad, and saying, well, not only can we not pass through Ellis Island with darker skinned people, meaning himself, we're not going to appeal to anyone unless we look a certain way. So understand that the whole knowledge of self through that vein, because I consider it knowledge of self. So there could be African people in Africa that just studied different mathematics and came up with the idea the black man is God. They may not have come up with it the way we did, because it's a fact. Like 2 + 2 is 4, right? Anybody could come with this fact. But the way we have it, when you put that together, right? And you put that together with Elijah's teaching, he has to also reckon with the fact that there is massive self-hatred with the way that we look. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And he has to find a way to dismiss it and make it logical. Because in people's minds, they're like, why do I have things that are so difficult? Because, yo, it's 1900, like 1940s and stuff. People are still conking their hair. They're still not wearing natural. And just to do that back then is extreme effort. To try to, you have whitening creams that are destroying skin. They're not painless. You know what I'm saying? Like now you get products that seem painless compared to back then. But all of this stuff, Elijah Muhammad was replacing the religion that we fell victim to with a better religion that took you closer to the truth. So he had to replace the institutions of Christianity, not just the wrong information of Christianity. So you dealt with a white Jesus, he gave you far. You dealt with the idea of self-hatred, and he's not going to tell you that you'll die for your sins or shit like that. So he's going to tell you, listen, every way that you look, it has a reason to it. You know what I mean? Because he did this before Black is Beautiful movement and all that kind of stuff, and people wearing their hair natural and all that kind of stuff. So you got to look into the strategies of pedagogy, you know, the sciences of why he was teaching all these different things. You know what I'm saying? For example, in the South, because remember, it's not just the big cities it's extending to. People, most of the people that are in the cities at that time, they're still Southern folk. So Christianity is a powerful institution that even if they become Muslim, they still will travel to see relatives that are in the South. So how do you replace an institution that not only is a religion, but a livelihood? Like, how do you have your morals and your ethics, right? How do you have a good suitor for your daughter, though? Right? In the church, you know, because you know that they'll follow stuff. It doesn't mean that they'll follow it for the right reasons, but at least that man will follow things because he was taught under the Christian doctrine. So how does he keep all of the family values and not throw away the baby, you know, the baby with the bathwater, like all that? The NOI is a perfect transition. You know what I'm saying? It's a perfect transition. And to me, this whole concept of the tribe of Shabazz is also a way of looking at things. And because remember, look, let's be honest. The person that says that they're God when Elijah was teaching had to be the person that put their foot down, because he's telling you that the black man is God, but also telling you that you're a Muslim who submits to the will of Allah, who came in the person of Master Farmer Muhammad. You know what I mean? So to be a proper Muslim, God is about to come soon enough. You know what I'm saying? He's coming. It's a contradiction that he balanced in there. So when the father says, like, this shit is not making enough sense for me. And see, the father wasn't trying to rabble rouse. If you really do the knowledge, what we was taught, right? He wasn't saying like, man, I hate all this Muslim stuff. I want to drink, smoke, and because he was doing those things under the table smoothly, right? He didn't have to go to NOI. He was doing it smoothly. He didn't need to go, yo, I'm drinking. No, he was doing that without anybody knowing. So it wasn't like he was getting penalized after he went to get more bean pies or something like that. He was already in the fruit of Islam, so people respected the depth of his discipline. So when he says the black man is God now, it's because he's out there teaching the truth and he's already going against protocols. That's why he leaves, because he goes against protocols. When they ask him, he doesn't go to the meeting on Sunday. He's saying, yo, the black man is God. Like, tells us right there. You see? And see, when the father added father of civilization to that knowledge degree, to me, it was like a way of saying, like, I'm going to start this all over again. I'm going to start it all over again, the whole thing all over again, because we've been letting others father us, house us. You know what I mean? And that's, if you really read all of Elijah's books, they are not books. Elijah did not sit down and write these books. These are all annotated speeches. That's why they're repetitive. That's why they're extremely boring after a while. And that's why they have massive typos. And that's why the condition of spelling lose as loose is in all the books, right? That shit infuriates the shit out of me. But when you look at that, he was giving you the clues right there. But he couldn't just tell somebody to do it. They have to do it for themselves, because for the person to be God, they have to stand up and say it. They can't just be told, like, you'll be the God. You know what I mean? Even Elijah Muhammad learned that Fard did not pick his messenger. According to the story, Elijah Muhammad is the one that picks himself by realizing who Allah is. You see? So in this case, though, when you look at the teachings that Elijah Muhammad had set forth, they were really they were transitional teaching for the Muslim. For those who submit to the will of Allah, came in the person Master Muhammad, right? And to me, the tribe of Shabazz is that metaphor of how we lost that knowledge of self. When we were taught, and Firstborn Prince was really leading this teaching, saying that we are the Godhead tribe, the tribe of Jabbar. What he's really saying, though, is that for all of us that realize that we are the true and living God, we were going to be that regardless to whom or what. That means that it was in the DNA for us to say that no matter what mystery, because you got to look at it, though. Teachings of any kind are encoded in the DNA. That's epigenetics now, right? When we study epigenetics, though, how people have a certain way of thought and they pass through generations without them being taught, right? Where people could live the healthiest lifestyle, but they still could go through the same type of danger of diseases like their previous generations, even though they have to go extra and don't eat the wrong foods, right? This is epigenetics. Epigenetics also works intellectually as well. You know what I mean? And we see that in the wisdom build degree, right? The nurse, sticking the pin in the head, teaching, right? They're not just teaching that, what to do. They're also giving you the concepts of heaven and hell, and these stay ingrained. You know what I mean? The concept of something outside of yourself is an ingrained teaching, So even if you weren't taught it, you still have to fight it. The thing about the tribe of Jabaz versus the tribe of Jabbar concept is that it's saying that we always was going to get to this knowledge stuff. And when you deal with the knowledge stuff, you have to understand that you have to see yourself as someone that always was going to get this. Always was going to see this. You know what I mean? And when it says the tribe of Shabazz, though, it's almost to me almost like an addict teaching. Like saying like, I am this, but I am an addict. You know what I mean? You're not that. You're not the condition by which you suffered. You are who you actually are, the true and living God. But those are the difference of the teaching, though. You got to see who Elijah was teaching, who he intended to get it to. You know what I'm saying? Right? Okay, so. Right. In Saladin, when you say that's an oxymoron, Muslim God, that's a totally different thing, because Elijah Muhammad never used that phrase. Never used that phrase. That's a phrase of, honestly, the peers of my generation that are, that are on their Muslim stuff, but they realize that the magnetic is with the gods and the earths. So they recruit out of here. You know what I'm saying? And they bring people into their halfway house. It's like a halfway house. You know what I mean? You in the middle, two grounds and stuff. You could say you're the God in one respect, but you're still dealing with it's that big G, little G shit. You know what I mean? That's what that is, the big G, little G. Because they still, when you talk to brothers that they say that they deal with, they're a Muslim God, they're still saying that they pray. They also say that Muslim means man of peace. But if you're the true and living God, I don't get why people don't understand that when you say you're God, it encapsulates all things righteous. So to say Muslim God, if you said it was man of peace God, you would be repeating something then. So you have something that doesn't need to be there. You know what I mean? And if you do it on the name of Elijah Muhammad did not use the etymological root of Muslim to name you. Elijah said, Muslim is one who submits to the will of Allah who came in the person of Master Muhammad. You cannot submit to Fard and then say you're the true and living God. That was the whole point of the father leaving the mosque.
He got suspended.
Yeah, that was the entire point.
He got suspended.
You know what I mean? Yeah, it's like, you know, it's like the entire point. I don't get it. You know what I'm saying? So it's just people in a halfway house, though. They don't want that responsibility.
That's what it is. That's the punchline.
Yeah, because when you say you're the true and living God, there's no one else. You can't sit down and pray a little bit. You know, there's no.
Say the devil made me do it.
There's no. Yeah, there's no glass ceiling though. You know, like there's this. You know, there's no regrouping. You know what I'm saying? There's no regrouping. You know.
Yeah, let me move before that happens. Yeah, let me move out the way before all of that happens. Because my third eye seen it coming before it happened.
And your third eye must be blind. Deaf and dumb. It depends on how you spell pray. They spell it P-R-A-Y, but if you spell it P-R-E-Y, and then you become the P-R-E-Y-E-Y.
Yeah, I doubt that Muslim gods are sitting down in P-R-E-Y. You know, you know, they're plotting, but they're not praying. You know what I'm saying? They're plotting. Yeah, you know, yeah. I don't even have that much respect like that. So, you know, even if they have a hyena nature. You know what I mean?
What nature?
A hyena nature.
Hyena, which means they're matriarchal?
No, which means that, no, I didn't mean it like that. I meant it like they're just, you know, taking the foods that other people prepared. You know what I mean?
Well, when you mention hyena, I go into the paradigm of hyena versus lion, which is patriarchal, which is matriarchal, and they're both mortal enemies within the nature of the jungle. So it's spitting that will be projected into people who are going to the matriarchal versus patriarchal situation. If it's a female-dominated society, you have females with over-enlarged clitorises humping on other males and females to show dominance.
Well, that's not how I meant it, guy.
Well, I mean, but then they're going to yield to that and justify the LGBTQ situation.
Yeah.
By saying we can find it in nature. They specifically go to hyenas for an example of this type of behavior. But with hyenas, it's some jailhouse shit.
Yeah.
They're submitting to the will of the queen.
Which ones are your students?
It depends. There's a bevy of them here, right? We got Saladin is in the building. Mr. G1, Word 60, True Self. All these, I forget their righteous names because sometimes their user handles different. But yeah, you know. Okay, Saladin, what you said. Thanks. Okay, no problem. Word 60, no problem.
Saladin from upstate.
No, it's a different guy. Not Saladin. Yeah. If you look at the Saladin said, if you look at the first lesson 1 to 10, it doesn't say he's planning on being God. The black man is God. Point blank. Absolutely. Yeah, he's not planning to be himself. Yeah, he just is himself. Sunez, Mr. G1 says, did you do the knowledge too? And if so, do you have any thoughts on Michael Muhammad Knight's lecture on the God on Earth? Is that recent? Is that a recent thing? Yo, I took the time to read his books. Some of the worst books I've ever read. The more that he wrote about us, the more things he got wrong. He even got basic like Wu-Tang knowledge wrong. Like
He
who
got
did-
his whole doctrine for us.
yeah, you know, and
Isn't it disciple, monkey cycle? Well, it turned out to be in that
he
cycle.
might be. I don't know. But
It's a replete-
oh, okay. Around 2 months ago. No, I didn't do the knowledge. I don't really look for them, and thankfully, the algorithms in YouTube didn't throw it at me. Yeah, Michael Muhammad Knight actually was around writing his stuff when I started teaching my class all the way back in the early 2000s, right? And he wanted to come in, and I didn't let him sit in my classroom. You know what I mean?
Good job.
And yet he still used the piece that I wrote about in the power paper, the misunderstanding of the understanding seed that I had written. And he used it to intro. And he see how he juxtaposed that to introduce a chapter on the white man. So I don't know what the understanding seed has to do with the trials and tribulations of the white man trying to get knowledge.
He's trying to say that he's
You know?
understanding seed.
Yeah, or that they equate the troubles and stuff. But he manipulates, and because I have many writings out there, people could manipulate things that they thought I said because they could use my writings and stuff. You know, I can't stop people from reading what I wrote, but that's not the point. But the thing is, that's a great
That's
one.
Jamal Shabazz.
Yeah, that's a dope.
Jamal Shabazz put that in his book
Yeah.
time before time.
Didn't thank you in his acknowledgments.
No, he didn't thank me. No. The only one thanking me in his line was just Star Mel. But
I never read that book. I just read the one sentence he dismissed me with.
wait, who? Who
Michael
this?
Muhammad Knight.
Oh, yeah.
Gods in New York.
Who was your student?
Yeah, you know the main thing about second.
Who was your student that asked about
Oh, that was Mr. G1. He goes by, Mr. One thing about there was a thing I wanted to say about Michael Muhammad Knight, though I can't remember. One of the things that he did though that made the book interesting to people is because he was around. He used the whole. He's a perfect example on like a tract. You know what I mean? Sometimes when we get the knowledge, because we're neither pro-black nor anti-white, we try to go harder to try to prove that we are not just being pro-black, anti-white. And what happens is that we end up being pro-white by accident. You know what I mean? Or by screw up, really.
or by their action?
Yeah. So what happened was that they led him into a lot of ciphers, though, and a lot of these older gods. And one older brother that I remember him telling, I won't say who he is, so, because right, but they regretted the amount of time they gave him because his book ended up being a lot of gossip as opposed to real things. You know what I mean? So there's two types of ways. You could get a lot of misunderstanding and fit things. Like he quoted in one of his secondary books, because I think he wrote 3 of them. He quoted and he said that Allah told him that he could believe what he wanted to believe because it's his understanding. I think that's what understanding means. Understanding is how you see something. So I think it's like this. So that's the answer.
But isn't that a basic baseism about belief?
Yeah, it's like
Wow, right in the middle.
yeah, he's just being clever with the shit to just say whatever he wants. And I know that Allah didn't tell him that shit. You know what I mean?
Malachi gave a critique of the book and said that he liked the way he applied journalistic method to it. So it had the facade of some type of integrity.
Yeah. He wrote it in the sociological method because he used the embedded method. You know, he used the embedded method. I'm embedded.
So it was a double in the
Yeah, like I'm embedded with this tribe of animals, though, watching how they behave and move and stuff. And this is what they say.
Applied journalistic method to it.
He did, but it's a sociological method of embedding, but that doesn't mean that it's a method I actually disagree with.
It's up to someone who has comparable or even higher level training to do the same thing, but to do it right and exact.
Right. There's mainly 2 ways, right? The main 2 people are Michael Muhammad Knight and Wesley and Wes, right? And not Wesley, Wakil. Wakil does it by secondhand sources and then exaggerating them. So he used Prince to show and prove that we're Muslim gods, right? And had no real firsthand information or even no interviews, nothing with Prince. He had
He has one letter.
Yes,
I
one,
have the letter.
But yeah, that's the thing. He had one letter in the footnotes. Imagine someone wrote about your entire existence based on one letter you sent somebody. That would be terrible. You know what I mean? It's.
But Wakil doesn't tell, because I was there for the time, and that's my educator. And I built with the man on the topic. He actually paid for the knowledge. So that's how come, if you know, did you get letters from the old man when he was up top?
No.
You don't have? All right. So we both know the old man was funny with it. So all of my letters are individually, they have an individual heading on each letter that he wrote to me, because some letters he was mad at me, and some letters he wasn't not so mad, and other letters he was pleased, because the earth has the best part, a poor part, and the worst part, as he always expounded on. When you look at Wakil's letters, they have the generic heading on it. And if you look at anybody that ever gave the man money for knowledge, they all have that same generic heading.
There you go. That's
Prince taught Arabic. Did he not?
What happened?
Prince taught Arabic. Did he not? So, what does Wakil mean in Arabic?
I don't even know.
Google it. It will amuse you.
Get out of here. Let's see.
What does Wakil mean in Arabic?
Oh no. Wakil in Arabic means agent. That's that's creepy right there.
He told you who he was straight off.
Yeah, that's.
And if you had learned from the example of the firstborn, then you would have done the knowledge you drew it up a long time ago. It's not who he taught, it's who learned.
Right.
I wonder if that's common knowledge. Or it's
Asiatic God Mathematics says, tell Waisha I love her.
Who said that?
That was Asiatic God Mathematics.
Peace, Asiatic God Mathematics.
That's peace. All right, Mr. G1 says, yeah, Michael Muhammad seems fraudulent to me. Well, he doesn't seem fraudulent. You read the books, you realize he's fraudulent for 100%. You know what I mean? He gets basic music knowledge about Wu-Tang wrong, let alone... Yeah, no, he gets like basic stuff that a casual Wu-Tang fan would get wrong. So he didn't even care to like get things correctly and stuff.
He named the first earth wrong, because he said Omala is the first earth, and Omala is not the first earth.
Right, that's right.
Carmen is the first earth.
Right.
Abu Shahid, that's the first woman to actually spit out her mouth. The black man is God.
Okay. Miss G1, you said, do you have plus lessons on Wycliffe, Jean, and Buddha? I do. They are going to take me years, months, and days to find them. So, and could you build on them in context and non-cipher degree in student enrollment? I could build on my understanding. I cannot build on plus lessons that I have not had in years, because I haven't looked for them in a long time. Real quick, though, you wrote Wycliffe Jean. You spelled it like the Fugees, so that's what threw me off.
He might be Haitian.
Right. No, it's important to spell this correctly, because spell Wycliffe. Yeah, Wycliffe Jean is important though, because you got to look at. I think that I want you to study about it a little more, because there's good stuff on him in Wikipedia and stuff, and you could correlate that to why Christianity is 551 years old. When you look at the degrees, though, Christianity technically is much older than that. So a lot of degrees are clues as to particular points that you should be looking at. So what did Wycliffe do that was unique? Because there were all types of alterations over the years to the Bible. So why is this important? And again, when you're dealing with 120, that's one of the most important things. You have to say, why this year? Why those numbers? You know what I mean? And if you subtract, 1934 from Wycliffe's era, the 551, you get the era that Wycliffe is from. And I think it's not a difficult answer. So I would like you to do some just basic internet research, and you should be able to come up with a reason. And if it's the wrong reason, then I'll tell you why. You know what I'm saying? But no, it's a good research question. I don't think it's one to give the answer to. You know what I mean? Immediately. As far as Buddha, this, right? Here's something. I'll give you my understanding of why Christianity and Buddhism are the degrees in the knowledge cipher degree. Technically, the religion that Elijah hated more than Christianity or as much was Hinduism. When you look at Buddhism being 35,000 years old, Buddhism is not 35,000 years old. It's actually about 3,500 years old. So you could look at that as a typo, or you could look at it as irrelevant, because Hinduism is about 35,000 years old. And it's Buddhism, the roots of Buddhism are to counteract the religiosity of Hinduism. That's why when you look at religions, right? And that's why the degrees are important. When they call about a prophet by the name of W.D. Farr, study the concept of a prophet in religions. Prophets are there to get rid of the iconization of individuals. So if you look at religions, they actually become religions by default. They weren't started as religions. So they were basically like rules and regulations to help you get to this information, to get you this state of enlightenment. And then it got ruined over time because
sort of like what NGE will do if they don't continue to keep it at its core.
Right. Because anytime you have a tradition of repeating something, whether right or wrong, it could get fucked up. That's a simple fact. You know what I'm saying? If you repeat things, then you have to defend the repetition of them in tradition. If tradition goes wrong, you have to enforce it. If you enforce it and people still decide to innovate and you don't like the innovation, then you start to kill. Right? And I leaped into killing so that way I could stop doing this whole, I just skipped all the way to killing though, but it could go to beat downs and all that kind of stuff.
It seems that your understanding of this particular question and answer has expanded since I posed that question to you.
Right. But when we look at Buddhism, right, and we look at Islam, right? But let me finish the Hinduism thing, right? The 35,000 years. Then I'll tell you why I see why the two religions are there. Those particular religions. Catholicism is a form of Christianity, by the way, Chusa.
It's the root of Christianity.
When you look at the Hinduism into Buddhism, Buddha was someone who's going to be king and decided to forego his own kingship, and he lived an ascetic life, right? Right. So let me write it there, that word, because everybody gets this wrong and stuff, Remember last week? It's funny because I was saying that in many ways, when I was talking about Firstborn Prince last week, I was saying that many of the things that people misunderstood about his rituals were his decisions to live a very ascetic life. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. A lot of times people like to have said rituals. If I did something again and again every day because I saw the benefits of it, I ate the same foods, I did the same type of training, I did this, you would say I was obsessively mathematical. You wouldn't say I was religious. Yeah. So sometimes you got to look at the way we're dealing with things. But I digress, right?
The ritual.
Right? Peace to Allah's school in Mecca. I'm in Allah's school in Mecca, and Allah's school in Mecca actually said peace to me. Or is that in Mecca? I don't know. But the thing about the
school enjoying
the school is talking to me. Like it's an entire the building is saluting me. Mm-hmm. But check it, right? To finish this, because it's not even my point about the degree. The Hinduism is something that Buddha felt that there was too icon worship, because in Hinduism you're praying to statues you weren't supposed to be praying to statues and hoping for that. You were supposed to be developing statues that reflect the things that you are working on, and then of course mutates into things that you pray to. Just like Buddha is Buddha nature. It isn't a Buddha statue that you rub for good luck. So, and the fat Buddha represents the idea of being full of enlightenment, not a fat person. You know what I'm saying? Because the real Buddha
was not fat.
He was the opposite. He was starving. He was starving because they were having discussions of whether they hurt the ground when they walk on it. So he was hungry. he wasn't even a good vegan because he was like, yo, if I step on this grass, am I killing the grass? Like, this guy was starving. Starving to the death. So if you had a Buddha statue, a real Buddha statue, it looked pretty ugly, you know. Actually,
the statues were also reminders, such as monuments are today. They have the Andrew Jackson or Christopher Columbus.
Yeah. So in the Hinduism,
not to worship.
Yeah, if you had like sexual statues, it's because you're dealing with the issues of sex. If you had like something violent, like a warrior thing, you're having issues with violence and stuff. You know what I mean? And I'm simplifying it a lot.
Which is why they were good semiotic totems for a person coming into that person's home, that you shouldn't mess with that dude.
Yeah. Well, maybe, yeah, right? Because you have like sexual statues.
Well, look about how the tea ceremony went. A warrior had to know the tea ceremony, and based on how good you poured your tea, I could tell whether I wanted to test your sword or not.
Right. Or the way he wrote and everything, right?
Calligraphy.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
They were well-rounded with their warriorship, and that's why there's a lot of imbalance in this generation that exists today, because they're only hyping up that one aspect of it and not the full spectrum. In order to be a warrior, you had to be just as good of a poet, just as good of a philosopher, just as good of a singer, just as good of a calligrapher. I mean, nowadays, our calligraphy is graffiti. Get into that. I mean, there's other aspects of it that are modern day components, because the thing just keeps on renewing itself. Everything is everything.
Absolutely. I think that brother is emailing me. Yeah. He's definitely I think he's a digital student of mine. Yeah. But so why those 2 degrees though? I think it's, to my understanding, that Buddhism and Christianity are perfect examples of religions of the inner and the outer, right? Whenever you study the Eastern religions, whether they be the yogis, whether they be the different sects of Buddhism, or even like different sects of Islam, like the Sufic orders, there's a heavy part of meditation and looking within yourself, especially in Zen Buddhism. You know, they often get lost in Zen Buddhism. They even have words for this in the different religions, though, of when you get lost in the religion. And what happens is you're getting lost in the mind. When you look at Buddhism, it represents religions where you get lost in the mind, where you get lost inside. Okay? When you deal with Christianity, you're dealing with a religion that you get lost outside, where you're looking outside of yourself for the answer. You know? And if you have a way of understanding how your own life, right, and how you get to what knowledge add on the cipher, you make sure that you don't add on the cipher from that perspective, right? Are you looking at things far too deep within yourself or far too deep outside of yourself? You know what I mean? And it works both ways. You know what I'm saying? It works both ways.
Can I add?
Peace. Indeed.
I see those 2 in the knowledge cipher degree. Like student enrollment's my baby. I love student enrollment. So I see the Buddhism and the Christianity as how people will add the cipher or for your knowledge. Because with Christianity, you get a lot of control of masses. And they base that off of one man who they call Jesus. And if you look at the whole thing of Christianity, it's one family that they all talking about. Because, you know, John the Baptist is his cousin. You got Mary, his mother. And then the great almighty mystery God is his father. He's the son. And then with Buddhism, you have people that when you deal with knowledge of self and you are so secure in who you are, people around you, if they don't have the knowledge of themselves, they're going to take off of your cipher and misuse your teaching and mystify and spookify everything that you were trying to detox and clean from the people. So that's how come it's so important to have knowledge in your cipher. You need to know who you are, where you are, when you are, why are you there at this particular time with these particular people. So this is the important, that's, you know, how I perceive it. You know, that's just my
No, I definitely see that. That's peace.
It is peace.
Definitely.
I had posed that question, remember, because at one time I was going around asking
different questions. Yeah.
I thought the Dark King had an interesting perspective about it. Because, you know, he goes from a pop culture, a certain type of aspect.
He gotta go.
In that He said you also have to look at the times. Was Hinduism is known as Buddhism in that particular time frame that Elijah Muhammad was coming up? Because you have to remember, Hinduism really didn't hit an apex within the American consciousness until the Beatles went and studied with the yogi.
You mean in
the 60s? So this is manifested in the 30s. So Hinduism might not have been on the national consciousness.
Just to argue, we could argue the same about Buddhism, because remember, it's, Shirunyu Suzuki and them, they're the first ones that come through San Francisco and stuff and start teaching. You know, Zen Mind, Beginner Mind book, and all those are
important. But those also came around the 60s.
Yeah.
So that was,
I mean, really, in the Eastern religions, right, you get two phases, right? You get the early translations in the early 1900s, right, by Max Mueller and there's one other guy, right? And they're starting to translate, though. There's an organization that they're actually from, though, that they're doing it in the Western world and translating documents from the East. And that's where, when you go on sacred text, when you go to sacred-text.org, that's where you get most of those old translations. You know what I mean? And they're good to read, even though that they're really bad. You know what I mean? Right? Yeah, I love that site. But the thing about it, though, is that those are old translations, so they have a Western mindset, or they just don't understand the culture that much. But what happens is when, you know, with the translations, right? Because they're kind of outdated, God. Like, you get that phase first of them trying to understand the translations, but then you get the actual East themselves coming. You know, so you can also add into that, though, yeah, like during the 60s, and you have like Meher Baba, and he comes and he's the avatar. Have you ever heard of Meher Baba?
I think I remember doing that, but I didn't really zone in on that.
He relates, though, because he said when he came, he said he was the chosen avatar. And he took a vow of silence.
He was Aang.
Yeah.
The last Airbender.
He said he was the avatar, and he took a vow of silence when only teacher like there's a chalkboard and stuff, like with the letters and stuff and like that. And he said that he was the true living God. And one of my favorite builds that really articulates it, he said that God can't be God if it's just infinite. God has to be God of the finite and the infinite world.
You see, that whole thing, please send me that link to my text, in the text.
Yeah.
But I like the way you constructed and perceived it as being an external and internal thing. So much so that I applied it to the 8 dimensions of wellness within the mental health and social services sciences.
Well, that's dope, man.
In that they said that there are 8 dimensions, and in order for a person to be holistically healthy, mind you, this is coming from the ruling class, they have to have their physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, then also their environmental, occupational, financial, and social imbalance. Now, what's missing as a Black or so-called Latino, you know, speak of the different things they used to speak of, what does that have to do? What is missing from that? Historical and cultural trauma. They say that it's genetic, and their own scientists, you know, admit that there was a situation where trauma is passed on through the genes.
Right. The epigenetics, I was just mentioning that. Yeah.
So the whole thing is they're not incorporating Joyce DeGury, the post-traumatic slave disorder, all of those different things. But they're starting to recognize the historical trauma within so-called Native American populations, and the fact that it's been intergenerational within my studies when I was at Hunter. But they don't put that in the paradigm. Why is that? Because they don't have that trauma. The people who design these paradigms they don't have the same experience. Remember when I said that I wanted to bring mental health programs here, and somebody said that's white man shit?
Yeah, I was there. Yeah.
That's white man shit. Yeah, I agree. It's white man shit if you allow it to be. Where did he get it from? It became white man shit after he sullied it up.
Right.
After he clouded it and fogged it, bleached it, whitewashed it. Before then, what was it?
That's right.
So we just have to make it specific to this time and day. I'm not going to go on your Hotep and call on the power of Sir Ket to cure you. Nowadays, we're not in ancient Egypt, Mesopotamia, or whatever the hell. We're in New York City in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
The vision must be clearer. So we have to apply those modes to what's happening now. Like people who always come up to me, remember I used to always say that, what would the father say about this? What would the father say about the internet? What would the father say about social media and personal computers? What would the father say about robotics? What would the father say about artificial intelligence? That was science fiction in his day. I don't think he would have that much to say about it, but it's a reality. So therefore, these lessons have to be living mathematics. We have to apply it and make it applicable and practical to our day and time.
That's right.
So that's why I'm taking those type of paradigms, and I like hearing the way all of these things get synthesized when we put forth a new thought, because we are the intelligentsia, if you will, of our particular era. And it's not
I see it.
It's the pen that leads the gun. And also leads the brains, and also leads the bodies, and also leads the genitalia if you allow it.
That's peace. Allah School in Mecca, the actual building, or Inf Mecca says peace today, son, and peace wise Asia.
Inf Mecca, the infamous peace, big brother. I miss ya.
Peace to the building.
It's Allah School in Mecca. It's the building. It's just talking to us stuff. It's been able to access itself and became self-aware. It's self-aware. It became self-aware.
Skynet.
Yeah.
All schools is Skynet.
yeah. All right. Mr. G1 says to all of us, I appreciate y'all's wisdom and your builds in regards to that. That's peace. That's peace.
I like Mr. G1. That's the one with the wisdom cipher to show the application.
No, I think that was wise you. That was wise you.
Oh, I figured.
G1 has had some really good questions though. But yeah, throw in your build. Throw in your builds on the day's math though, so that way I can analyze and criticize and take away all the fantasize.
Woo! Talk about it, brother.
Yeah.
I miss you, Sunez.
Likewise.
I ain't see you since like the show and prove with my little big brother Chuborn.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's right.
I was talking to Doc Kim. We were talking about height. So I told Doc Kim, Chuborn and Sunez are the only short brothers that I respect.
Damn.
Because I don't listen to a man if he's not over 6'2". Because Doc Kim had a build on height. So I disagreed with his build.
Right. Okay.
So I told Doc Kim, when I was dating the law of justice, I had came to the understanding that if my neck doesn't move at a 90-degree angle, I have already processed that I shouldn't listen to nothing you got to say.
Oh, man.
So you and my brother Chuborn are the only ones who defy that.
Well, for everyone that doesn't know, I am not the tallest man. I'm 5'4", but it's the thing is though is that I'm extremely concentrated though. You know, I'm not diluted though. I'm concentrated into this back and stuff. So.
But you and my brother Chuborn are y'all the only ones, because everybody else
when you're doing this into listening, it's like you're supposed to concentrate on what the person is saying and processing that. It's kind of like the mindfulness, the zen of being in the conversation, so that you're not just waiting for the person to pause in their speech so you can say what you want to say. And it was hard for me to really develop that when I was becoming a counselor, because you always, things, my mind, things are always bubbling forth. So suppress that urge to speak. But what I found out is if you let go of things, if they're meant to be, they'll come back. Right. And you were talking about what Firstborn was, I think they were talking about how the agent used Firstborn's utilization of Islam as a ritualistic practice to justify Muslim gods.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the whole that's the whole In the Name of Allah book too. That's really all that it's about.
Yeah, but she brought up Trueborn, and I remember when we was building with Trueborn that he had stated about how it was the discipline of that situation, and how he saw how that particular situation, how it kept him within a certain level when he was following those ritualistics. And if you look at ritual, what is it? If you have a ritual for your spirit, what is it? Spiritual. That ain't mine. Kind of leaning through that in 5% one day.
No, yeah, I see that. Yeah,
You know, I gotta give credit. You know, I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be a jewel thief, even though I'm a jewel thief. Think so, Shaw.
The
jewel thief. You drop a jewel in the safe. I'm gonna pick it up, put it in my pocket, and rock it.
Yeah. You know, yeah, I don't always know what to say when people talk about height though, because one thing I'll tell you something, right?
You'll never bang him head on the floor.
Dayson, you've been around me for.
You'll never bang him head on the floor.
For Dayson been with me for 20 years though. Like he knows that. Like if people harp on my height and shit, then they're showing me their weakness and their issues. You know what I mean?
That's a whole big fact.
Yeah, But how does God become the God, and any of his so-called discrepancies or things that are not ranking as high and stuff, how do they all rank high? It's works. You know what I'm saying? If you're the true and living God, you will not be the true and living God if you didn't do anything. You have to have works. You know what I'm saying? When I got knowledge of self, right? When I came to get knowledge of self, that was easy because I already had works though. I had already published in major magazines. I had already done stuff. So I was used to having works. That was a way of life though. We're creators, so we go create. You make works. If you're building though, go get students. You know what I mean? Keep it simple though. Teach the 9 though. Even if you don't have, like you could live it's possible. I think it's possible for someone to be a good teacher and go their whole life though, and they don't have a good set of 9 students because people suck, and that's why we're in the world. They don't get this shit, and they won't live it out. That has nothing to do with you. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think Allah had a good set of 9.
yeah. There's a dart right there. You know what I mean? But
that's why he went to Medina, and that's why he went to Najus.
Yeah, but even still, right? Like, let's say, because when you teach a student, if some of those that he taught, they may not have been good students for him while he was alive, but became better students after he died.
Firstborn prince.
You get what I'm saying? Like, they might have been giving him mad headaches, though. Like, when I think of the type of students that he taught, half of them I would have been like, man, you're still in the street shit. I'm not teaching you shit. Like, y'all too crazy. But he taught a lot of people that we would probably not be able to, deal with just yet. But the thing is this, like, engaging in the process of teaching 9 makes you stronger and stuff. You want to show and prove that you're the true and living God as a student, trust me, do every single assignment that I told you to do. You know what I'm saying? If you're not in shape, get your ass in shape. You know what I'm saying? Because it's funny, because the earth is talking about height though. No one's ever looked at me and then challenged me to some type of physical thing.
Because you're strong.
You know what I'm saying? And it's also, it's the training though. And what was it when I first got knowledge? It's like we have to supplement this mental exercise and this knowledge with the physical. You know what I'm saying? So all of this goes with other stuff. No one is going to give you that. You know what I'm saying? You got to go out there and be a creator. You got to go make stuff. If you're not making stuff, if you're not engaging to build stuff, then that's what makes you weak. And that's what makes a weak person. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't matter how tall you are. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's a lot of tall, right? Like the corny God. He's kind of tall. You know what I mean?
The corny guy.
He's kind of tall. And, he's taller than me. He ain't at equality, but he taller than me.
Right.
But he corny with all his height, and for him to be a knowledge, he's still corny.
Yeah, it's just
But you don't give up. Like for me being a woman, right? I knowledge God, right? Me being the earth, my natural self is to knowledge God, and that being earth, right? There's one sun that I rotate around, which is the truth, and then there are many suns in the universe, in the galaxy. There's all kinds of light that shines onto the planet at different times. And I see that as, different people. And I've never seen nothing weak. In all the years, months, and days that I've known you, I've never heard you say nothing stupid. I've never seen you walking hurt, sloppy, unconscious, incoherent, incapacitated. I've never seen you other than God. I've never seen you other than good, orderly,
Right.
direction,
See the thing, right? Like people would assume that to be that way means that you live a great life. You know what I'm saying? What people don't get though, and I just put that into context, right? Look at what I told you earlier about my situation. You know what I'm saying? Most people would be crying and crumbling and stuff, and I'm not. Throughout the 20 years I've been teaching here, there were times where I didn't have a home, and I was, I still wore the best clothes I could. I still wore a suit. That was when I used to wear a suit. You know what I'm saying? Because I still worked at a place where I had to wear a suit. You know what I mean? So it's about like always doing the best you can, because when you train a lot, and this is why the physical training is important, especially for God, though. To me, every black man has to be training because he's the son. He has to be giving out stuff. And if he holds that in, all that physical energy is going to go the wrong way. That's when he starts getting mad. That's when he starts setting fights, and he's not even suitable to fight, but he'll start fights. You know what I mean? But like, if you, for example, if you learn how to train, you're also learning how to train when you're injured and when you don't feel good. So what you do is that gives you the life lesson, like to always learn how to adapt when you're not even at your full strength. So like if I have a small injury, I still train because it's martial arts I'm training in. If I get into something with an 85 or let's say a 10%, right? Whatever it could be, right? And I go, listen, I got like a knee thing, like that's not real life, right? I can't say, listen, this is not the day for me because my elbow is not so good, and he's not gonna let up because I'm not in physical shape that way. This is not a basketball game. This is not a football game either where I'm an injured reserve. You know what I mean? So now I have to train mindfully of the messed up elbow or knee and think like, well, what would I do? The same thing in life though, like everything is going wrong. Well, what would I do with this limited amount of money right now? How do I build with this? What do I do in these type of circumstances right now? Like what do I do? What do I get the most out of these circumstances? Because now, if you say, look, the output right now is not godly or like to the level I want it to be, you learn how to build in these horrible situations. What happens is when the things get better because of your building through here, instead of building on a good level when everything is good, you're way above the bar. Because now when you're healthy and you're strong, you're not just giving a good, healthy, strong workout. You can challenge yourself in ways that you never did before. You know what I'm saying? And that's what God does. He creates new levels. Right? He's supposed to create new levels of shit. You know what I mean? And say, no, this is my normal output. I want to reach this. No, reach it when you're not so good. Because now you could reach something that's even higher than ever expected. Because I always say this though. What is the question of the creator? Every time you do something, that you create something, the question is, what if? What if I did this? What if, and then blank. If you're building while you're injured, if you're building while you're not in the best of mindset, what you're doing now is giving yourself a better preparation of what if you can ask and answer when things are going good. You know what I mean? That goes with your physical training. That goes with your building training like that. Like, if I have a headache though, I read. It could be one page or two and stuff. It could be terrible. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I said, listen, I gave all I could. But then the next day when I don't have no headache or nothing like that, or I got good rest and stuff, man, I'm reading at a powerful clip. You know what I'm saying? Because I already pushed through. I even do sprints when the legs aren't there, a tweak in the hamstring or something like that. Because when it's good, it's great. You know what I mean? And we don't build that way. We always seek to cower and rebuild in some kind of nest and stuff like that. For the God too, we're not the earth. We're not to be in a nest recuperating and drawing more milk. You know what I'm saying? That's not. We have to learn how to deal with situations when they're not so good. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that's part of the training,
If I didn't reflect God's light, I would be in a wheelchair or I would be in a bed right now because I broke my spine a few years ago, about 4 years ago. So there's no cure for that. And I don't have money to replace that part of my body, that bone. And because I deal with supreme mathematics, I didn't completely break the spine. I fractured the disc.
Mm.
And if you know anything about the lower back, the
Sure,
disc
yeah.
is very important.
Yeah.
So I could have been paralyzed had I not, dealt with everything. And what you call it, the painkillers they gave me were, I could have became addicted. I stopped taking the medication, the painkiller, because all they did was give me something for the pain.
Right.
They couldn't, you can't heal that part of the body. So, but because I deal with sciences that I deal with, I don't have that today. The bone has, because the body heals itself.
Right, that's
if,
peace.
If you
That's
know
peace.
how to take care of it, and I haven't put my body through excess stress because it's only been, 3-4 years. I haven't kept track of the day because I want to forget. But you know what I mean? I haven't put my body, I haven't really tested my back to see how far it can and cannot go.
Right.
But when I went and had a physical, there was no traces of any injury. Like I recently had a physical for my job, and there was no trace of that.
That's amazing, though.
But that's the science of dealing with. You can't say that you are the true. Like I know the true and living God. I know who the true and living God is. I can see, feel, touch, smell, taste the true and living God. He's not up there. You know what I mean? I can't fast and pray. And I can't say that I know who the true and living God is and then subject myself to the 10% medicine, the 10% remedy, and the 85% way of life.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's not, I'm the earth, I'm the true and living earth. I have supreme mathematics. I'm a reflection of good, orderly direction.
That's peace.
So if I'm not moving like how you said, I was getting up and moving with the fraction back. You know what I mean? I could have laid in bed all day waiting to be paralyzed. But you gotta, what's in the mental is in the physical. There's no way you got good orderly direction in the mind and not in the body.
That's right. Why is you? My apologies. You said I mixed up the build, referring to word 60's build. My apologies. Yeah. We were talking about it was word 60.
Oh, it was word 60.
Not Wise You's build, which both builds were strong though. So
I liked it. I liked it. Pardon if I messed it up. I gave you the soft voice.
Yeah. But yeah, this week from you students, I didn't get many emails, Yeah, peace to addiction and organ malfunction. Yeah, peace to the earth.
Peace, God.
Self indeed. Yeah, 793rd. One of my more charismatic students.
How many you have on here?
Oh man, I never even count, but it's a lot.
You got 100?
No, I don't think it's that much. I don't think
50?
It's that much. No, not online though. It might be like in the 20s.
Nice.
Yeah. 20s. Yeah.
I don't even talk to 20 people in a day.
Peace, self-magnetic. Yeah, I see self-magnetic. So some of the students are students that I already teach though outside of the digital, like self-magnetic. So
if y'all don't know, New York City opens up next week. The trains, the buses, if you're not aware, you got to start paying for the buses after August 31st. If you didn't get your mobile blast, just to pass it on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, also too, I always like to say this every time. After every class, usually I write this on Saturday. And I do the class Thursday and then I think about it on Saturday. But because we now have the 5% media page. I don't know if you've seen it, Earth. So too. But
send me the link. YZ17. YZAsia17 at gmail.com.
Okay, let me say it again.
YZASIA17@gmail.com.
Okay. Yeah, but so you can see what it looks like.
Oh, that's fire.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not like no little white thing.
No, it's official. It's official.
That's fire.
Yeah, so under education, we have the Peace course. And so I write a column every week inspired by just thoughts I had about the particular class, though. You know what I'm saying? So, maybe I'm thinking about corny gods and I write more embellished, you know what I mean? But last week when I wrote The Rep Grows Bigger, I was talking about
Yes, I got it.
I was talking about I didn't even get the chance to build on the degree of that day, right? And it was knowledge understanding degree, right? And I basically wrote the degree and I showed you how to build with it, but in a way where you build how to build with a degree to utilize what's in the degree to get insights about how to live. Because a lot of people use degrees to just break down things that happen. Like when we do like Buddhism was here and you start giving history and all that kind of shit. But a lot of people don't know how to use a degree and build about their daily life, like, or how they could use it personally. And to me, that's the next level. Not just to know the degree, but to be able to extract understanding as you look at the wisdom of your life, the way that you live, right? But, all right. Self-Magnetic says, appreciate the wisdom, Earth.
Peace, Self-Magnetic. I like that name. That might be the best magnetic name I've heard.
There you go.
I know a lot of Born Magnetic and Supreme.
Right, yeah.
Supreme Magnetic.
That's right. It's funny
but
because
he said
when he came, I mean, I was like, yeah.
Self-Magnetic.
There's a brother named Iblis Khan. He says, peace from Bangladesh. All right. Bangladesh.
Oh, peace.
All over the world. Any questions that you have, understand two things. 5%, let me write the links here. But the column is on 5% Media under the Education Peace Course column. What else? And my email is sunez97@gmail. So if you have any questions or anything like that, understand that the people that have emailed me, I will get to you this weekend. But I usually write the column. The last column is a good way to see how things are applied daily. You know what I mean? Iblis, this is not a show. This is my class, though. Okay, so Supreme Understanding wouldn't be on the show. So. Now, if you want the shows that I do are hip hop shows, and that is not on right now. Okay, so no, that's peace. Yeah, no, it's fine. You know what I mean? But it's not a guest show. Wise Asia just decided to come here because she's here. This is her school. So she just happened to be here. I'm teaching the class, and we spent the first half hour before the class. I got online reminiscing and talking about things and catching up, and then we got on. But understand that when you when you find me on the social media or the internet, you're gonna find either me building in my class here, or you're gonna find me in my own shows, the Power Right Show. Which is my show about my element of hip hop, all right, hip hop writing, and I also do DJ Toshi's Classic Storm Radio podcast, but that's hip hop stuff, you know what I mean? So we could talk about that later, you know what I mean? If let's ask, are people from India original people as well?
Yes.
Indeed, the black, brown, and yellow are original people. Okay, we don't teach.
Show them your ring. Even though that's not the same type of Indian.
Yeah, the Indian, the indigenous, right? But the black, brown, and yellow are original. So when we talk about genotype, a lot of people in the Western world, especially the United States, though, they gauge who is black by the gauges of phenotype and also cultural experience. Mm-hmm. So you could that's why they don't always value people that could be dark as they are, but don't have the same experience. You know what I mean? We don't teach that. We're not teaching things on a social level. In other words, we're not teaching who is black, who is original, right? When we say black, we mean black, brown, and yellow seed. we're not teaching who's original based on the experiences that you have with the said oppressor. Okay, so you could be an original man though, 100%, and have the greatest time on the planet Earth. Like, yo, you have no problems with the white man. You never had the cops stop you. The cops would never stop you. You're richer beyond rich. They got nothing to do with it though. It has to do with your genotype, not the phenotype. And then when we study the genotype, we're studying, for example, the melanin, what Drew Pookrum called the biological living light, which is the black, brown, and yellow. The melanosomes are the black and brown, and then the carotenoids, the outer layer of the melanin, which is the yellow. A lot of people don't know that part. You know what I mean? They be thinking it's just black, brown, but it's also yellow, right? When we look at all of that, then we know who the original people are. And it doesn't matter the experiences that you have with oppression. Although we could probably guess that maybe 97% of the people that get knowledge of self are inspired by the hells that they go through by the oppressor. And when they hear that we teach the degree says the colored man is the Caucasian white man, Yakub's graft the devil of the planet Earth, they get excited. They get, look, I hate that white man. Let me go learn what it says here. And it says that I'm the opposite. We'll go learn it. But that's not really what we're learning here. That's why we say we're not a pro-black nor anti-white, because the truth that we're teaching has nothing to do with the social reality. Absolutely nothing to do with it, but it explains all of the social reality. Okay? Explains all of the social reality. So I hope that answers your question, Iblis Khan. Okay? And if you notice, though, we answer this question based on science, not on the social history and stuff like that. You know? Mr. G1 asks, how do you see today's degree in the knowledge to free cipher? Right? Mr.
20th degree.
Oh no, I read it wrong. How do you see today's degree in the knowledge free cipher? Okay, Iblis, yes, thank you. You're very welcome. And listen, if you want to learn more about what we teach, you can feel like you stumbled on this and stuff, email me and go to the website and start, reading things and devising your questions and stuff. I'm still trying to figure out a way to teach people that are oh, that's Peace God.
Yeah, let me see your shirt. He laced you.
He be Sunday doing again.
Yeah, he's supposed to have a.
Oh, okay.
I think you're doing a great job. I've never, as much as I social media surf, like I surf the net, like I'm on all the time.
Right.
I've never ever thought about having an actual breakdown to teach, because I'm so raw. I'll be like, get it? I'm that bird that just throws the babies out the nest, like fly or die. Fly or die. Either you get it or you don't. It doesn't mean nothing to me.
Right.
I'm gonna have more babies. So I have never you put a lot of time and energy in a plan. I think that is phenomenal. And I can't wait to see 10 years from now, 5 years from now, because everything's at such a terrific speed. 5 or 10 years from now, how somebody else is going to expound on your foundation.
Yeah, I would love that. I mean, the goal, right? The goal that everything that we do is that what we did becomes the norm. You know what I mean? So hopefully the things that I do just become the norm. And that's why what we were saying before, why my situation is in, because people are cool with things for a while, but when it takes real struggle and sacrifice to continue to do things that don't give us money, that don't really benefit us monetarily,
people don't like that.
Then now it becomes a little bit of a problem, though. You know what I mean? And now it's not so. It doesn't have the fame that you thought had attached to it. You know what I'm saying? But and
the notoriety.
You know what I'm getting at.
The notoriety of it.
Yeah. But the guy was asking Mr. G1, just to clarify, because I always like to ask. He asked me about today's degree in the 1 to 40. Oh, where are you in the 1 to 40 though? Because I just want to know. Because I'd build on any degree though, but I always hated that degree, today's degree, because it still reads religious. We try to fix it, but the prescribed law of Islam with a said person of that ability. You know what I mean? it doesn't really give you clues about who is the said personality. Like, how would you become the said personality?
Because you choose yourself.
Right. But we have to infer that. You know what I'm saying? And without, because it doesn't have that, you can't read it religious. But at the same time, right? The major thing is that the civilized is held responsible for the uncivilized, right? That's something that's not new in ancient teachings of the East. The Tao actually says that the good teacher is responsible for the bad, you know? And when I read that, I think about the father, because the father didn't look for good students because the good student don't need you. He don't need you. So it says that the teacher is responsible for the bad, you know?
I always saw Allah as having like the super duper ego. Because I was like, look at who he picked.
Yeah.
He picked the children that nobody cared about.
Yeah.
That nobody gave, like Abu Shahid was a dopehead. Who cares about a junkie?
What's crazy, right? How does he discern that they will become valuable? That's mind blowing to me, you know?
But firstborn prince, right? Firstborn, I didn't know this for years. I think I was about firstborn prince student for about 6 years before I had this conversation. I could be wrong. I could be exaggerating it because it makes me feel good. I don't know. But it was years. I know it was years. The point is, it was years. I never knew that he watched me for the whole day before he spoke to me. Because he was like, nah, baby, you thought when I spoke to you was the first time I saw you? I was like, yeah. He said, no, I watched you the whole day. He said, you got a lot of that shit with you. That's why I taught you. And I was like, yeah. It's something, because there is some like, looking.
Because he had a way of discerning. There's a way of discerning.
Because we're all different. Like, firstborn prince ain't like soft yellow motherfuckers.
No.
Right?
No.
So look at Trueborn, look at you, look at me. None of us act like each other. None of us talk like each other. None of us walk like each other. None of us have the same habits. We all come under the old man, right? We all think we had a special bond over the other. You know, I could trump you and Trueborn because I'm the only girl. I'm the only girl. There's no other girl. He had mad male students. I'm the only girl. So, but you know what I mean? But that's what he saw in us. He saw that ego, that cocky, that pride, that rebellion, that hunger. That's an equality that all three of us have. We just expound on that different.
Agreed. Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, because it was totally different. You know what I mean? The vibe that you with Trueborn had was totally different. Me, I came here like open my book and write down things. I was, I was class.
As you should.
Yeah.
Because he cursed you out if you came to class without a pen and paper.
Yeah. He would, yeah. You know what I mean?
What the fuck you doing in here? So you mean to tell me
you come to class
you don't
without...
remember every fucking thing I said, dog?
Yeah.
Quickest way to get on that man's nerves.
Yeah. Yeah. He kicked out a lot of people if they didn't know things that they should have known. You know what I mean? I saw him kick out these high school kids because they didn't know the area of a square. Because he just felt that that's if you didn't capture that in school, you're gonna be a bad student here. So he's just like, get the fuck out. Brutal. I mean, brutal.
Yeah, he had a lot of tough love.
Yeah. But that's what I was trying to explain. He was really brutal, but when he started to teach, he was a real good teacher. If you didn't understand, he'd give you the parts that you didn't get. You know what I mean? Like, really walk you through it, though. There's a lot of pedagogy in a smooth side that I learned from just watching him teach certain things. Even things that I already knew, him just saying it to somebody else, you know? And that's what people miss from getting the knowledge of self and coming to the school is that they also miss watching the way other people teach the same things that you already know. Yeah. Because you get the different styles. Like, you watch Firstborn Prince and then you watch Dumont. His teaching totally different. So then you're seeing like, well, what could I do? Is he teaching it different because he's this different person? Yes. But also that guy asked him differently, or he's expecting it differently. You know, it teaches you a lot of things, because the one thing teaching at the school is that a lot of people's gonna come here and they're all different, because we in Harlem now, and this is a crazy place. You know what I'm saying? So that type of adaptation. You know what I mean? But look, the prescribed law of Islam. You know what I mean? Prescribed is something that is given to you. You know what I mean? So like if you look at the preceding degrees, they're about teaching. To me, the prescribed law of Islam is a life of teaching the way of life. A life of teaching the way of life. That's the prescribed law, because it's, come on, this is what he's telling you. If you don't teach, if you do teach, this is what you teach. Right? We're poor righteous teachers. Your prescribed law is that you got to teach, though. If you simplify teaching, because teaching always looks like a thing where you're telling people things, and that looks awkward. And that's not the way Father is. I always tell people, look around the school. You'll never see a picture of the Father on a soapbox. So he never taught people as strangers. You know, like he wasn't throwing things at strangers. He always did the knowledge. That's probably where Firstborn Prince learned how to do that, because the Father looked at people and was noticing them before they noticed him.
Yeah, Prince.
And if for those who don't have that experience, if you read the book, The History of the Gods and Earths, from those who were there, that big book that just came out, many of the gods have that same type of situation where the Father knew them and they were like, I just met you. You know what I mean? Because he was watching people in the cipher coming through. He was watching them while they're on the block and everything like that, right? But when you look at the prescribed law of Islam, change teaching to sharing. You're sharing what you know to those that you feel may be able to use it. And I think that's what makes you a 5%er. Not that you go teach everybody, oh, the black man is God, this and that, because a lot of people, you could terrorize their mind with that shit, right? Yeah, you could terrorize their mind though with that. You know what I mean? You ever taught a Christian that Jesus is black? Just simple, basic shit. And they look like they've been ruined. You quote Revelations, right? It's in Revelations, right? And you quote Revelations 1:14, and they're just like, oh, I don't understand. This doesn't make any sense, right? Like, you can't rip that plug out. You know, the matrix plug, you can't rip it out. You know what I mean? And then if they're older. But if you have a way of life where you know how to prescribe, where you share sincerely, like, yo, this could better everything. Teaching is not about sharing so you could feel better about yourself. A lot of people teach, though, so that they can say that they taught, or that the neighborhood that they're around, they can say, look, I taught everybody that's here. The reason that you teach, though, is that the more people you teach, though, make a better world for the children that you have. You know what I mean? Because now the lifestyle that you give your children, they will grow up to a place where this knowledge itself is more familiar. You know, because there'll be a day where, like, our children or our children's children, not everybody's going to deal with the knowledge, but if they say, listen, I'm a 5%, it's like, oh, I understand that. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what it means, though. Like, this knowledge is knowledge. So eventually the whole world is going to have it, right? If we fast forward, because it's the truth, the whole world would have it, but a lot of people is like, nah, I can't really do it, though. There'll be a lot of people that flake. Most people will flake. You know what I mean? But it'll be something that is actually something that people will understand, though. So it depends on that transition, what we talk about. That's why I put a lot of emphasis on learning this and not using mathematics like numerology. Yeah. Because remember, some of the system that we use, the system that we use to born a degree, right? So today's the wisdom cipher day, all being born to wisdom, right? When you add two numbers to get one, because 20 does not equal 2. 2 plus 0 in the wisdom cipher equal wisdom, right? That's the phatic system in numerology. The Greeks came up with that, right? Because they got it from when they were learning in the Egyptian mystery school system. So what it is, though, is really a way to simplify principles that link together. That's what we do when we build in the math and born it. We're combining principles, because you should have already been practicing through the single digit days, how you would live out those single digits, and then what you come in and start blending the principles together and focusing on that. Everything is about a focus, right? All of this could become numerology and could become religious at any turn, right? So when we talk about the prescribed law of Islam, though, is how you prescribe it to yourself too. Because the most important thing to be a teacher is to how you teach yourself. And some people teach themselves horrible. You know what I'm saying? And that's why they don't really last the distance too. You know what I mean? They don't have anything new to say. They repeat the same builds, right? When we've been here, right? We're like, oh yeah, he always gives this build. Right? We go to Parliament, though, we're like, yeah, he's doing his, we did the label stuff. Now, I'm saying that though, I got a whole folder of builds that I go into. They're my builds. They're what I say. But I try not to go into them on purpose though. And that's the work, not go into them when I feel like I want to give it to you. You know what I'm saying? I learned a lot of that idea concept too from Dumar. Because Dumar, out of anybody that I ever met though, I never heard somebody take all of their understandings and really commodify them into actual pieces of paper, all of them. So like if you talk to him and he goes, that reminds me of, right? And I just tell people they don't get what I'm saying though, but look, he would always sell me the latest one and it looked like it came out of him like a magic rabbit out of a hat, right? How did he pull out his national statement and it never was wrinkled? I don't know how he used to do that. Like he pulled it out of his sleeve. And he was like,
stayed ready.
Here you go, Sunez, because he's like this, here you go, Sunez. And he just pulls it out and shit. But if you mentioned the subject, he was going to number 10, 140 of my builds. Like he would have them all numbered and stuff, right? He had the characters, the Johnny Neckbones, all that kind of shit.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And he would bring it out and then take it out and then go into this particular build and how it relates to that. But he spent the time writing down his understandings so that way he could always use them in all these situations. So he's an exception to the rule because it sounded like he was giving you the same story that you heard already, but he actually would change it based on the circumstances. So like each one could go into like 10 situations and then he would change it at the end and stuff. It was really crazy. You know what I mean? That's why you have to be around the older gods a long time because they see how they do stuff again and again.
And he was around the old man all the time.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. And to me, the first great scholar is really Firstborn Prince. He was the one that was able to write down his understandings in a more deeper way. You know what I mean? And that tradition of having good writing skills, you know what I'm saying? He's a good writer. I wish he wrote more, I wish he wrote more.
He didn't have that much time.
No, yeah. I mean,
because he was,
absolutely.
He was in the P.E.A.C.E.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, when he was
absolutely.
free, he was doing what free men do, partying, women,
Yeah, to catch up on a lot of lost time, you know what I mean? But the thing is, right? And the thing is, when you look at the prescribed law of Islam, right? The said personality is always making sure that everything that you bring into the cipher is actually truth. Is the wisdom you bring into the cipher every time truth? Are you able to test that out? Because there's 3 things I tell every student when I meet them. Like any newborn or any person I meet, though, the second thing I tell them is like, make sure you know how to make your next question. Put it into words, your next question. But to do that, you have to make sure that everything you think you know is actually true. Or else your next question is either skipping or illegitimate question, right? So like someone said, I want to learn how to divide, but they never learn how to add. So that question is no good, right? Whatever you teach them, they wouldn't know how to do it. And the thing is, we have to always go through inspection of our own selves to see that prescribed law of Islam, because some of the things, I'm telling you, peace God, teaching over the years, there are things I've taught that I look back and say, you know what? I didn't teach that the right way. I actually was teaching that wrong. Or I had a vocabulary word that I was using and I was using it the wrong way. Like there's things that happen. So you have to go back and look at what you're teaching and look at how you're doing things. Like I just finished, so you could email me, the students. I finished fixing my health protocol sheet. You know what I mean? And that's a good example because health changes. There's new things, developments. There's a lot of things in there that I didn't really articulate correctly. You know what I'm saying? So it always goes through inspection. You know what I'm saying? Because health of 5 years ago is not health today. You know what I'm saying? Because there's always new things being learned and all that kind of stuff. So that's the thing. You know what I'm saying? But that's somewhat how I see the degree. You know what I mean? That's how I see the degree. And by the way, it's a degree I don't like though. I hate degrees that tell me what to do. I don't want, because There's an old Sufic order. I forget which one it says though. Famous female actually of a Sufic order. She said that any religion that tells you, or any spirituality that tells you that if you do these right things, you will reach God, is not a good religion or spirituality, because she says that you should be doing right things just because. And for me, that's the problem with today's degree. If you read it straight the way it is without analyzing it or changing it to us, it reads like you have to do these things or else you won't reach a certain pinnacle of enlightenment, a certain pinnacle of freedom, a certain pinnacle of saviorship. You know what I mean? So you have to look at these degrees and apply them a little bit different. You know what I'm saying?
See, I teach to teach. I don't teach because I like the person, because I know the person.
Mm-hmm.
I teach on whatever. Sometimes I teach people and I don't even know their name. I don't even know where they're from. It's just that I came in tune with this person, a situation happened, and I was the best knower, and I gave the knowledge. And I see that's a big issue with newborns, because when you first get knowledge, and I was a victim of this and I saw this, you had to get along with whatever gods of earth are in your community. Because if you didn't get along with the gods of earth in your community, you wasn't getting the knowledge.
Yeah.
So that's wrong.
Right.
Because you're supposed to give the knowledge to whoever wants the knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
What they're going to do with the knowledge is not your job. You can't sit there and judge, that sister been eating pork for 40 years. She's 53 right now. How's she going to come to me at 53 years old and want the knowledge?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's not your job to judge. Your job is to give the knowledge, because once you give the knowledge, you're not responsible for her no more.
Mm.
Because the civilized are held responsible for the honor.
Well, here's the thing, right? We always have, I always like this word and use it in real things instead of business, but it's a business word. The opportunity cost of things. And in business, opportunity cost is when you look at the money that was spent on something, the opportunity cost is what else it could have been spent on.
Okay.
So an opportunity cost for us as 5% is we have opportunity cost of time, right? So who we teach though takes away the opportunity cost of others we could have taught. If we, instead of when we teach though and base it on like and dislike, we do a disservice, because when you have rules like I won't teach anybody this age or that age, you also ruin it too, because when I have a student, because anybody could come here.
That's a fact.
So people come here of all types of ages. What I fax first though is to maximize that older person, right? So it doesn't die with them. So they have to have embedded in them a culture of teaching the young or in contact with the young, right? That isn't creepy, right? But
like the God powerful.
Yeah, so
he's a trainer.
Right. So I asked him,
a coach, I mean.
If you're older, do you have children or grandchildren that you could bring this to or show them? You know what I'm saying? Is there outlets that you have, right? Or things like that? What is going to be the thing that you create either by teaching or by making that could be for the youth? You know what I'm saying? Because that's our culture. That's really our culture. Our culture is doing things for the betterment of the youth. That's why it's written on the building. You know what I'm saying? We do things for the youth. So like if any of this teaching though isn't for the youth, it's no good. To me, it's really no good. So it doesn't matter who you teach, but it does matter if you can, to the best of your ability, do it in a way where it's going to get to the youth. You know what I mean? And sometimes some of the older brothers and stuff like that, there's a reason they come get it. You know what I mean? Because they realize that the little things that you know can actually be useful for the youth, you know? But let me go back a little bit because there's some new people came in too.
Isn't it weird that we the age the old man was when we was hanging around him?
Yeah, that's crazy. it's interesting because I'm culture freedom, and when I first got knowledge, that was the age that knowledge me was when I went into his classroom.
Oh, word.
Yeah.
I'm Culture Bill.
Yeah. So.
Ooh, I got years on you, God Bill on you, God Bill.
How do you use today's greeting? Okay. Oh yeah, I just answered that. Iblis Khan, the one from Bangladesh, said he met a god here in Bangladesh. He was from New York on a business trip. He sees a lot of light. I just like hearing different people's perspective. That's no problem, you know. Yeah, we're here all the time. You know, we're here all the time. Sorry if my English is bad. That's no problem though. It's good enough. He shed some light, right? So use the resources I have though. One of the things that people don't use is resources very well. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't get it, and I keep trying to tell you. I learned a lot before I came here. So I was already, in some respects, I was considered civilized when I got here because I didn't eat pork for years. I was already vegan for years before I got knowledge of stuff, right? And I had memorized some degrees because Day-Son was the one that brought me because we went to college together. He was the one that was here, the crazy man with the stick, right? That's DX21 Crazo, right? But the God Day-Son was the one that brought me here. And I didn't know how they would receive a Puerto Rican because he didn't really explain that part well. So I had memorized math, alphabet, and 1 to 10 before I even came. And I had never even been on this side of Harlem. I'd only been in Spanish Harlem. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't even know this side. I had only been here once to the Apollo, and it was to watch Ruben Blades. So I didn't even... The time I was on this side of Harlem before I got knowledge of self, though, I was watching salsa. So, it was all about that. But the thing about it was, right, is I lost my train of thought here.
You were talking about Day-Son brought you here and didn't explain as an understanding.
Yeah. He didn't explain, so I didn't think that I would be embraced here. You know what I'm saying? So the major thing about it is that I already came here pretty much like already as a student. I was already leading in as a student. But what a lot of people don't do is that they don't realize that there's so much a network of resources. You know what I mean? The classroom itself, I offer a digital resource. So I actually have a library that's over 2,000 books digitally. So they get access to the student. I give them books and they get all the stuff that they need, right? Digitally. So I don't bring papers anymore. You know what I mean? But the thing is, though, is that a lot of students, their biggest problem is that they don't use resources. So they don't always take notes. They don't always use resources. Always use your resources. You know what I'm saying? And this is a resource. So when I give you the 5% media page, when I give you my email, that's to access and ask for things that you think you need and would like to know, because people don't do that. When I came here, look at all the things I became. I became a martial artist, but that was because I was all the guys I was with did it. And I was like, how do you know all this shit? You know what I'm saying?
Even I was learning that.
Yeah. So it's like, but I took, all the things that were here that was offered, I took the opportunity and I used it like a real school. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes that's not the culture of our people. That was the culture of me because I had come from college, not enjoying my degree, but taking part in all of the extra things that I could take from the school. My degree is in marketing management. And I hate business. You know what I mean?
But everything is business.
I know. That's why I hate business, man.
You got a bachelor's?
I went to school, and because of my degree in business, I realized that I'm anti-capitalist, though. You know what I mean? So while I'm
but this is a capitalistic. America's a capitalistic society.
It's also a Christian society.
I mean,
I'm comfortable being in that, and I also sell my own books and everything. So it is what it is. It's the contradiction of life. But the point being, though, is that learning how to use your resources and stuff. You know what I mean? Using your outside resources is crucial. You know what I mean? So Iblis, though, definitely use this resource. There is an Allah School of Mecca page that has lots of videos. Subscribe to this. Go to 5% Media. Email me if you have questions about anything. You know what I'm saying? But okay, Kam Islami. Yeah, peace. I appreciate that Asiatic born. Okay. 793rd said, putting into action and applying that which I drawn up to impact whatever situation, person, ideal, environment I come into contact with. bringing the truth of my reality to the wise as well as to the dumb, to aid in beginning the stages of being aware of the colored man's impact, plus removing any devils off the planet by their choice alone. I get all that though.
On wise dumb. I like
Yeah,
that. I like his
definitely,
wordplay.
yeah. Right. The only thing you have to work on here is that I hope you don't say it like that because it's a run-on sentence though. No, it might lose people though. You know what I mean? So you want to take them to one way to build is to always include the degree in it, so that way you take them carefully through it, depending on the student that you have. Though, you know what I mean? And of course, as I always say, your homework then with this degree and what you said is to say, give a real example for yourself, like real examples, like in your own life, what you did that mirrors that.
Can I build on today, man?
Indeed, yeah.
All right, I see wisdom cipher as my words are gonna be are what's gonna attract you to me. My words, my ways, and actions are what's gonna be are my attracting powers, because I'm gonna say something that you may have not heard before, and that may be attracted to some. I may say something that you've always been saying, and you might be bugging that you actually hear somebody else saying it. And I may be doing something that you enjoy doing. So you may see me somewhere doing something and you're like, wow, I enjoy that too. And that's, my cipher. And that's my attracting power. My cipher is my attracting power. That's my nest, like the god Sunez piggyback, or for him saying the earth nest. So my cipher is my nurse, my home, my place. And the only way somebody else is gonna know about my home is if I produce sound or I display in action.
That's right. That's right. And that's the thing. Nobody can see your knowledge. You know what I'm saying? They can't look inside the crevice of your brain and see whether it's a smart guy. You know what I mean? We want women, like, guy looks for a woman, though, he can't see that they're intelligent. But the way that she dresses, everything that she does can tell and give him clues about her intelligence, or vice versa about our intelligence, you know what I mean? Or it could lie about it, right?
Yeah, there's a lot. Right. The Bible talks about cunning women. So right. you have like somebody asked me why I don't wear a head wrap anymore. I said, because I'm not done. It was like, what? And I was like, I've met a lot of women with head wraps, and they need that head wrap to hold their head together because ain't nothing in there. And there's no disrespect, because I have a lot of sisters. My three coined 3/4, but I'm always understanding my culture. Whether there's a head wrap, whether there's a pin. I'm always understanding my culture. Yeah. That's in my ways and actions.
Indeed.
But piggybacking off of Shahada Ali, she talks about that in the Black Man's Guide to Understanding the Black Woman. She talks about women who wear culture, and the culture is soiled and they smell foul and things, you go to their home and it's in disarray.
Right, it's really just imagery, it's really imagery, yeah.
You can meet, people with all of these things, that's why Christians, they have in their Bible not to worship false idols. You have to see God. Like, I acknowledge God. I say this one day. I gotta stop. I gotta work on that. I'm repeating myself. I say I acknowledge God one day, but like me acknowledging God, I don't acknowledge a God because he has a pen, or his pen is bigger than his pen, or his voice is stronger than his voice. I'm matching his words with his actions. And are they applicable to what's going on? Is he talking to me about, I don't need to know what's going on with Pluto. I don't need to know how many rings are around Saturn. That's not applicable to my everyday life. That can't help me pay. When my landlord, says, this rent, I need this 1,200. I can't say, this planet is 88 million miles for the, he's going to be like, thank you for the astrology. Now where's my 1,200? So I need, when I see a God, And our knowledge, because not every man is God and not every God is Allah. So when I make these distinctions, I'm basing it off of his words matching his actions matching the applicability of the situation at hand.
Interesting thing you said. You said not, that the black man is God, but not every the black man is God, but not every God is Allah.
That's a fact.
That's something that really only people that learn with Prince know that. He's the only person that would say that difference though, because he very rarely acknowledge you as Allah. You know what I mean? Like you say your full
name. You
name.
know my add-on to that? Not every black woman is a queen, and not every queen is an earth.
I see. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, that's right. That's right. You know what I mean? It's a higher standard. You know what I'm saying? Higher standard. That's why I said, listen, people bear witness to people beforehand because they have works, they have reality, they have created things. They can prove they're a creator. You know what I mean? Let me go through these. Iblis Khan says, can a 5%er be a Freemason? Oh, wait, Khan Islami said, peace, I'm an Indian. That's peace. That means you're original. Here's what it is. Iblis Khan says, can a 5%er be a Freemason? A 5%er can be anything. You know what I'm saying? But it doesn't, because those are organizations. So they could engage in anything, whether we individually agree with it or not and stuff. I know a lot of gods that some of them are faulty and they dealing with other things, and some of them are true and living, and they just happen to delve into a lot of different things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it depends, but Freemasonry is an organization. You know what I mean? If you went to college and you embedded yourself in a fraternity or sorority, you could end up being a Freemason just by your connections. So it doesn't mean that you're not one or the other. Iblis Khan, what martial arts do you do? I do basically Shaolin Kung Fu, a heavy focus on Wing Chun, but we learn the animal styles. We learn weapons, the 18 weapons. What my Sigun called it, Bobby Whitaker, he called it Biang Zing, which means metamorphosis. And that's why a lot of the gods we learned with him, because the metamorphosis means that everything that you learned would be creatively molded and used in a unique way. So if I learned with King He or Knowledge Eternal, those are my big brothers in it. Wise Ramel, we all would do it differently, and you wouldn't be able to notice that we learned.
Those are your big brothers, and those are
in the Kung Fu. These are my big brothers.
Those are my little brothers.
Yeah, those are my Kung Fu big brothers. Yeah, and right, because what's interesting, right, is that I could be the same age or a little bit older than some of them, but when I got the knowledge, I was already in my 20s and stuff. So they had the knowledge longer. So when we started to do Kung Fu, Wise Ramel was already doing Kung Fu, right? They were doing these things longer, right? Yeah. So they was doing Kung Fu longer than me because they was the ones that already knew it. So they're still my big brothers. I don't give a shit about all of that.
And Knowledge Eternal, I know Knowledge Eternal when he was Vazi.
Yeah, see, I don't know. I didn't know him that long. Yeah,
but yeah, and
that's the thing. When we learned, and that's why we all learned under Bobby Whitaker, who's not Asian. He's a black man, he's a knowledge seed, and he knew what we dealt with, and he basically taught us uniquely to our different physical bodies. Like, because you see, I have different body type than Knowledge Eternal or anybody else. We had to do everything our own way, So,
but
that's why it's Biang Zing. It's uniquely creative. There's technicalities to every style, but it had to be uniquely expressed the way you express it.
You got a stronger, in my opinion, as a woman. I know all three of y'all for years, but decades with all three of y'all, but you got a stronger physique than both of them put together. Your stance is stronger, your posture is stronger, your builds are stronger.
I say this though, right? I'll give you an example, right? I'm not going to say because I'm shorter.
Because you are the shortest.
There's a lot of things in my life, right? If people look at my life, there's a lot of things that I catch up to. So in catching up, though, I didn't complain or pout. I basically stayed in the laboratory. So look where I'm from. I'm from Sunset Park, which is like when I was growing up, it was a Puerto Rican neighborhood. There's no gods. It's way past, it's far away from the heart of Medina, right? So I had to go get the knowledge, right? When it came to hip hop and doing this hip hop, I had to go get it. I didn't live a street life doing crime. So when I go out into the street, I have to be prepared that I'm not in the street, but I'm going to be in the street doing hip hop things. So like, because people don't know, if you're a journalist in the 80s, 90s, you really wanted to get a good story.
You had to be front and center.
Yeah, and people don't have recording studios in the hood because before they sold the record, because they sold records. You know what I'm saying? You don't have 1200s, sampling equipment, and all this stuff because you made a record. You didn't make the record yet. So how did they get it though? So a lot of illegal shit. How do I compose myself and not succumb to that? You know what I'm saying? So I always had to be prepared before I went into ciphers. You know what I mean? So there's always a delay in my whole life. I get the knowledge later. You know what I'm saying? I get all these things later, but I'm in the laboratory working to deserve and to earn those spots. So I end up not falling victim to a lot of things people fall victim to, right? I have more time to listen to people's stories, but also I get used to working on my own. You know what I mean? So look at my vocation. This is a writer, this is an author. You know what I mean? If brothers tell me to train, though, I train every day. You know what I mean? When I started learning with Bobby, he said, how long, I'll give you how it juxtaposes in my whole life. Bobby, I asked Bobby like the first couple of days because I was bugging out because he said he'd teach me for free. So you already know I'm in. He taught us all for free. And that's why he's like a 5% of us, because he taught us Kung Fu for free, never charged. We gave him things, you know? And I said, Bobby, how much do I have to practice to be good at this? So it's not like just corny, like, right? Like, but how much time each day should I spend on this? Like definite. And he goes 20 minutes a day. You know what I mean? And it reminded me because as a reader, as an author, my old earth used to always say, read 20 pages a day. She used to make me read 20 pages a day, even when we're not reading school, nothing. She was obsessed with that number, 20 pages. So I was like, 20 minutes, 20. I was like, yo, I got to learn this. So if I do anything good or got to a level where it comes out good, is because I did it. I did the 1,000 repetitions. I did the 1,000 reps. You know what I mean? I'm constantly doing it. If people say I could teach, though, it's 20 years, right? Come here once a week and teach at least 3 hours. Because even when I started teaching, if people didn't come those 3 hours, I would sit and read, you know what I mean? Until the 10 o'clock hour came, and then I would leave. So it's like, what are those, what's the time that you're going to put into stuff? You know what I'm saying? And all of that. I mean, that's the only difference, you know what I mean? Because I don't think that I have some overbearing physical gifts. You know what I'm saying? If people go, look, Sunez is little. I'm actually, I don't know if you know this, Earth, but I'm a twin. I'm actually a twin brother. I have an identical twin. He lives in LA though, right? We were premature, so we was born 7 months.
Twins are.
Yeah, we were born 7 months. I was like 3 pounds. You know what I'm saying?
So you've always defied the odds.
So you know, we was born living in an incubator. You know what I'm saying? So this idea of not bearing witness to people saying, oh, you know, you're short, or you can't do this, or you didn't do those things in the street. None of those things get in the way of me doing what is, you know, right and exact to me. You know what I mean? If it's something I think I ought to know, I go learn it. If it's something I think I should be doing, I go learn it. You know what I mean? And
but you're different from, I know those two gods, right? So Wise is just like the children of Israel in the Bible. Because Wise grew up, he was born in the culture. So everything he takes for granted. You know, everything for him is funny, it's a joke.
I'll say this though, I think a lot of that was in the beginning. I think Wise Ramel, like he's really, he's actually become a documentarian now.
Because he's
52
grown,
blocks.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's becoming a grown man.
So a lot of these things, you know? Yeah.
And Knowledge Eternal, Knowledge Eternal had a lot of issues before he got the knowledge, because he's a power rule, a Puerto Rican, but he doesn't have the traditional Puerto Rican looks.
That's true too.
So he had a lot of, identifying issues. Like I have a lot of identifying issues. I don't know if you know, my mom's is black, right? My mom's got that kind of like Sade look.
Mhm.
And my dad is Puerto Rican, and he's really, really light. Like when he get a sunset, it's like another layer of white. So you already know why
That's
my
hilarious.
mother, growing up in her
Tan
time
another
ever,
layer of white.
she had, because
Right,
she
right.
was never
Uh-huh.
Puerto Rican enough to be Puerto Rican, and she was never black enough to be black.
Right, right.
So me going to school and all the black girls seeing my mother, and I never dressed like a typical Puerto Rican because we have our own style. And, we wore the little ruffly side. I didn't wear that. I was wearing designer shit because my mom's, So who was my friends in school? Keisha, Tamika. It wasn't Maria and Lizette.
Right, right, right.
So, you know what I mean? I didn't have, like,
Right,
I know.
right. No, I get where you're coming from.
I
Yeah,
know what I look like.
I definitely get where you're coming from.
But I never
Yeah,
had
yeah.
the issues why Zeke had.
Yeah, I'm gonna say something though. To me, I can't speak on that. I think my brothers. I love them though, and I don't think I would have learned the things I learned though if they didn't teach it to me.
But
So,
they had to go
what I mean?
through that to be
Right, and they
who
had,
are.
and I wouldn't have been able to advance if they didn't go through it and then skip that lesson for me. I could skip that trial, See, I don't have that experience. A lot of people because Sunset was a totally Puerto Rican neighborhood,
So you
and
have
I am the
all
most
flavors.
cliche looking Puerto Rican. Nobody thinks I'm anything else. If you know Puerto Rico, if you're New York, that's
Ain't we from the same part of Puerto Rico? We're from Ponce.
Yeah, my father's Ponce. Yeah, Ponce. Yeah,
See,
and
my
my mother
mother's
is
from Ponce.
my mother's Patilla. So
My mother's from Ponce. My father's from Fajardo.
okay, yeah. So we got the Ponce thing, which by the way is where Hector Lavoe and Cheo Feliciano and the great Sonora Ponceñas from. I always like to add that because Eddie Palmieri, right?
Ponce. If anybody ever goes to any part of Puerto Rico, you go visit someone.
No, it's not for a Ponce. For Ponce is like to salsa is like Kingston is to Jamaica in reggae, because the legends are from there. Because Eddie P made his name here in Harlem because he's from Harlem, but he's from Ponce, so you know what I mean.
Ponce is live, like
it's
even what's that girl
P.E.A.C.E.
from Love and Hip Hop that calls herself the Puta?
I don't know. That's where you get me. I don't know anything about those.
Man, I can't think of her name. Yeah. She was on that reality. She from Ponce. The Spanish chick that was on.
A lot of people. Yeah, a lot of great heritage from Ponce though, including us.
Yeah, Ponce, because Ponce, Sunez and I are the minority-looking people of Ponce. Ponce people are very brown, very curly hair.
They only have a deliberate, intentional migration of Italians that they embrace from southern Italy to try to whiten the population, and that's where you get people like Eddie Palmieri and have names that are Italian, because Palmieri is an Italian root.
I have a Spanish.
You know what I mean? So that's where names like that come from, because they tried to whiten the population so they would accept, but what they were doing was accepting people that were already mixed from southern Italy. So it didn't really do the job, you know what I mean? But a lot of great culture from Ponce. You know,
yes,
and
that's where Sunez and Wazasia, the great Sunez, the great Wazasia come from the great Ponce, the great.
And I know I'm being biased because Puerto Rico's out there, but I think my favorite big band is always Sonora Ponceña. I love a Gran Combo, but it's Sonora Ponceña for me.
Hector Lavoe.
Hector Lavoe, that's it.
The creator of salsa.
He's the GOAT. But let me see what comments we have, because we have 15 minutes left before I get off this thing. Let's see. So that answers the question about Kalam Islami. You said the technical answer is yes, but if you're 5%, you don't need to be Freemason. It's not a check all boxes thing. Like if you're a 5%, then you would. If you're not 5%, you have to be Freemason. Like this thing is not a check box thing. Like we are this. Like this is what you actually are. Freemason doesn't tell you who you are. You know what I mean? It doesn't answer or say who you are. Like you say, I am a Freemason. That's just a thing that you're being. if like also Sunez is also a Bengali name, but pronounced differently. Yeah, I know that people have, yeah, my name's Sunez. I made it because, like I said, I come from a Puerto Rican neighborhood. So my intention was to show that we have this knowledge, but also that everybody that would meet me would know that this diversity is there. So it means savior of the universe now shows and proves the equality of Zigzag Zig. Sun is Allah, right? So that's how I made my name. You know what I mean? And if I know that there are other countries that might have that last name, but if you come in the name of Sunez Allah, nah, nope.
You the only Sunez in the culture.
And that's the way it's gonna be. Self-magnetic peace, God. Oh, he said to Iblis, once you understand the knowledge of self, you will see you will not need any title. Like Mason says, the information you obtain to learn will give you
Yes.
actual fact. That's great answer there.
I love self-magnetic.
Me too. That God has looked out for me on many occasions. Self-magnetic says the perspective of your thinking will change and you will see things, basic things, different. That is true. Iblis said that I'm not a Mason. I've done research on him. 793rd said, Shahrazad, I think he was trying to say Shahrazad Ali, just said on a recent Sonetta interview that the father was not Allah when he referred to him, appropriately sounding spooked out. So I had to cut it short on whatever they were promoting.
Shahad Ali is a female.
Yo, anybody that comes out of the Nation of Islam or something like that, they're never going to bear witness that the black man, each individual black man is God. And that's why they reverted. You know, when they say that Fard is coming back on the mothership, they are contradicting every last teaching that Elijah Muhammad said. If a Muslim in the NOI says that Fard is coming back, they are disrespecting the same things that we read in Messages of Black Men. Because he made it particular that when you come back from the physical death, it doesn't make sense because you come back in all these pieces because your body disintegrates and becomes part of the earth. That's what Elijah said. So he already built that if Jesus came back, it would be the most gross picture. So how is it different with Fard, you know? And Elijah never said that Fard himself is coming back in some spaceship and going to bomb things. He said that Allah's wrath is going to come back, you know? So like people, not good reading comprehension. But if you read the knowledge degree and don't see yourself as God, that's already a flaw in reading comprehension and actualization, you know? So anything that she would say, it doesn't really bear witness to that. So.
Especially if you get to that 10th degree in the free cipher.
Right? Who is that mystery God, right? I mean, people's in the middle of the search. And if you're still waiting, you're still searching, right? Okay, where do you start? Okay. True indeed. On the contract. Okay. Is believing in a magnetic Allah. This is a different one. In believing in a universal creator spooky. Yes, it is. Okay. A lot of people try to. I've had this build. This is a longer build, maybe for next class, but we're not part of a matrix like in the Transformers, though. Okay, right? You know, like in the Transformers, they're all part of like the Matrix or the Allspark. There is no like we all unite and there's an Allspark somewhere else because it means that God is somewhere else. You know what I mean? There's no mysterious being, energy, or force that causes our reality but us. Okay? When Allah said we all come together, we see Allah, it means that the unified force is just our mind becoming aware of each other. So it doesn't turn on when we're all together. It's not like a plug. What it means, though, is that we would come to the realization that we've been all doing this ourselves. That's why we come together, because we lost that knowledge of self. But a universal creator also takes away from the fact that there is nothing that a universal creator is creating that you are not. So like the unified mentality of all black man, woman, humanity is not creating something that you are not creating. You got to look at it more like it is only created by us, these building blocks, right? You take building blocks, kids' building blocks, and you put them all together. You don't say that that, this is the one separate Allspark, right? This is just the same thing. Take those building blocks and spread them out. You still say it's the same set of building blocks that the kid has, right? It's all one and the same, whether it's together or not, okay? So when we say a universal creator, though, it also takes away from the fact, though, that the real building blocks that created all things come from the tiny and come from the mind creating it, okay? So nothing that takes us out of ourselves is right and exact as we teach. Mr. G1 said, "At you, wise Asia."
Uh-oh.
Indeed, the practicality of the knowledge in your world, the truth about one has its attraction or is the reason for the lack of. I don't know. He didn't finish that, but he probably was confirming something you were saying earlier.
Probably on my build on today, man.
Right. Iblis says, "I do Sanda, Chinese kickboxing and judo." That's peace. Sunset Park in Brooklyn. You from Bangladesh, but Sunset Park, Brooklyn. That's right. You know what I mean? I was there before Dominicans came. Yeah, I was, before Dominicans came and before, they started to have pastry shops with boots in the window. Which means that's, Mexicans moved in when you go to a donut shop and they got boots selling in the window, Iblis says, also, if you have the chance, I'm reading a book that you should read. It's a New Yorker. It's called Bengali Harlem and the Lost Histories of South Asian America. It talks about how Bengali peddlers got married to African-American women and Puerto Rican women in the life they lived. Can you email me the title of that book? I would love to check it out because sometimes the chat deletes itself once the video posts, sounds an interesting book. All right. 793rd said the leather bomber era. Yeah, comments, there's also Dr. Supreme.
But that's what America made New York for, and that's the concept of the melting pot. New York is known as the melting pot. So when you have different cultures coming together, and then both of the two cultures that are different are trying to be Americanized, they both lose themselves trying to be something that they are not, because America is an idea. It's not an actuality.
Right. And the word for that, though, is assimilation. Assimilation, right? Us being from a colony that is still controlled by the U.S. and owned and ruthlessly destroyed.
Facts.
The main oppressor that you could identify with the eye is the biopharmaceutical industry.
Yes.
Most biopharmaceuticals come from Puerto Rico, but with that said, when I was growing up, though, it was so obsessed to assimilate that we weren't allowed to listen to salsa. We weren't allowed to do any of those things. We had to learn English. That's why my Spanish is trash. I can read Spanish. I read Spanish better than I speak it.
I read it, write it better than I speak it.
Right. And I can read like really good poetry in Spanish and stuff, but I have trouble articulating it like on that level that I play.
Y ella viene.
Yeah.
Ahora.
Yeah. It's through how, right? Everything is through how, yeah. But the thing about it, right, is that assimilation process was deliberately done. I give the Puerto Rican example because we were overtly and outrightly assimilated, right? I remember my older telling me that they were teaching her different food groups of food that she never ate. She never had an orange. She never had apples. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they were teaching. They were Americanizing. Yeah, they were Americanizing them, and to things that they didn't even know. So, but the thing is, though, is that all peoples that come here are being assimilated. And the African American is forever assimilated. You know what I mean?
My grandmother never ate. If my grandmother didn't kill it or grow it, she didn't eat it.
Yeah.
So she had a heart attack when her granddaughter wanted spaghetti from a kid.
Right. Imagine now, though, right? You got whole meals and buckets and trays and stuff, Lunchables. Mr. G1 said, "You heard any of the new Nas that comes out tomorrow?" I heard one song, the Ultra Black that came out. You know what I mean? I don't like the track list. It doesn't look that good, but Nas honestly is a genius. So. Everything
He's the
that
most underrated rapper.
everything that Nas looks like on paper, like the listings and stuff, you always say, "Oh, it's gonna be whack," but he happens a way to make great. He's a great songwriter, so I don't worry about him too much.
Because Jay-Z did him dirty with his last album because he put out the Carters.
Oh yeah, well you know he put out a single today, so he had to put something out at the same time. Yeah, yeah. He did it. He did it again. He did it again. The LT station. I don't think I saw you here, but peace. Pardon the typos. I was talking into the text and knowing that the time is limited. I didn't go back to edit. I hope you can understand. Peace, God on earth. I don't know if I saw your comment before LT station. It's a little late now, so if you haven't, and again, my email is in here, sunez97@gmail.com. Okay. Okay. All right. He says Iblis says Nas ate Jay-Z with Ether. The whole world knows. Man. The whole world knows.
I feel so bad for Nas because he comes out, he has such quality music that's so rare in this time.
Yeah, in the commercial sphere, to be known to be making that type of music, it's something to be appreciated. You know?
And he stays getting trumped by
That's why, like,
hokey pokey.
I don't really complain about his beats because it's the quality of his songwriting.
His beats are always whack.
Yeah, I'm not as mean as that. I think they're passable. I say overall they're passable, but no, he just makes great songs, so I always appreciate them. You know what I mean? I look forward to it. That's what I'm saying. I look forward to it because
he's a lyrical
as a writer, I just it's crazy the way he writes.
I work next to Queensbridge.
Yeah, he's a genius writer. So I'm definitely checking for that. But like, let's say if there are any questions, I'm gonna log off now. I'm gonna put the website again. Go to that. Read the latest columns. I'll put a new one. I should be putting a new one for this class. But email me if you have any questions. That means any of you. So if this is the first time emailing me, just tell me who you are and like your story, that way we could build, and let me know. But until the next time, continue to stay healthy, continue to build strong, because creators create creation and live in their creation. If you don't create, though, then you're living in no man's land, right? The mystery God land, right? But until next time, until next week, though, peace. All right, we are done.